Excuse me. Alright, let me know if anyone's here and if you can hear me. Hello, 40 Fire, Splittin', Kyre, Shiny, Penguin, Vesperian, Bunyip, Oak Treya, Croactu, Trinus underscore, Sora Markov, Draconite, Dreams, Illwrath, Bleak Werewolf, Midnight Note, Dr. Mothman the 63rd. Hooey. What's going on, fellas? I think this is in all likelihood going to be the final Beaver stream. Hello, it's me, your dog, Jess Long, Zane Greedon, Daka, Ghost by Go, Chimney, Monochrome, Dampy, Ron Mu, Sky's Vengeance, Loy V2, Reapy Soul, Venom Goust, Linus, Dog Tips, Microtonal Matt, Satu, Cool Kai, Danky Brain, Raw Bagel Eater, Valkyries, Styrofoam P. I like to paint the 33rd. Thank you for the resub, Max. Mwah. Thank you for the 26 months, Max. Hello, Literal Trash the 5th, Matoko, Carnadan. Man, dude, I woke up at 6 again today. I stayed up all day yesterday and I didn't have enough time to finish my things, so I went to bed at like fucking 7 o'clock. So my sleep schedule is completely dicked beyond a shadow of a doubt. Hello, Matoko, Abyssal, Shoot Riskum, I had Apples XD, the Foxinator, Rutari, Creptime. I got back into Destiny 2 after not playing since launch today. I'm so sorry, bro. I'm so sorry, dude. Hello, Hoips, Tomato, JFC, Charizard. This went on longer than the Courage ARG. This went on longer than I think My House and Worm Game combined at this point. Hello, Sushi, Argia, Baron. It's one of the longest things. I think it is the longest single game I've played since Elden Ring. Hello, RTMN. Join the Destiny crew. No, I'm North American, dude. My aim is dog shit. I would never be able to play something like that. My house is pretty short and contained compared to this. It still took me a while. I get through these things pretty slowly. So, become the best Destineer? I believe in Ghost. He's the best VOD archivist. So, been quite the marathon. This is most I felt pulled into something in a while. Well, hopefully I do it justice. I often make mention of streams as like a milkshake. The milkshake can be 95% good, but if at the bottom of it there's a cockroach, you're not going to remember the 95% that was good. You're going to remember the cockroach. So let's hope we can avoid any roaches with this one. Who the hell made this pick? KMaski did. Hello, Scorch, Chernabrog. Whatever happened to that one guy that said he was going to interview the first land dev? He did, but we didn't have any questions. I don't know, dude. I didn't, at least. Hello, Little Miss Pink, Kulu, SM. Hi, man. Admittedly, I've never done like any sort of theory bullshit before, so I hope that you guys, it's like decipherable and understandable. Thank you, Mad K King, for the 59 months. Thanks for the laughs and fun streams. Been a good help for the past 2 rough weeks, but things are finally looking up really nicely for Joy and I. Well, that's good, dude. Glad to hear it. Thank you. And thank you, Schwhatever, for the 22 months. What's going on, Tolo? How are you? I'm ready to put the beaver to rest. I'm ready to be done. This has been a profoundly enjoyable experience, but I'm tired of thinking about beavers. I'm ready to go back to fluoride staring at RuneScape. Hello, Krim. Hello, Beanie. I think all the stuff I've heard so far made a lot of sense to me. Well, I think I spent a good amount of time figuring this out, and I think I've gotten most of the way there. Hello, Cunny Sewer. VI Pizza, C Puff 1989. Monkey Flings Poo. But at the same time, this is probably going to be the most schizophrenic stream I've ever done. So, if you're into like extreme gameplay, this is probably not going to be the stream for you. There is something I found in the legacy version of the game that we'll start with that I haven't seen like what it leads to. But after that, it's just going to be like a gay theory, if you will. Hello, Cry E.G. No Nut. You've truly unearthed the vanilla gland of the beaver? I like to think so. I would like to think so. Thank you, Beans, for the 24-month resub. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Man, dude. Is there anything to do after beavers? Thank you, Silver Hobbit, for the 34-month resub. I appreciate it. Got an ad for taxes just before resubbing. I'm sorry. Use ad blocker. My advice. Hello, Empty Perspective. Hope the OST stuff was helpful. No, I didn't look at it at all. Like I said, I think there's importance and value in figuring out as much as I can by myself. There was someone in the Discord who seemed to be particularly frustrated with me because I told them this after they offered to help, and they said, okay, well, another week of beaver streams. So this is the last one. There's not going to be another week. I'm sure there are going to be holes and things that are outright wrong, but, you know, you gotta... I'm not Matt Pat, you know? I'm not a giga-brained theorist, so we'll see. No problem. Yeah. And I don't know. With these sorts of games, it's important for my own enjoyment to... Like, I don't want people to tell me shit, you know? Like, it's just, why would you play... It's so weird to me how people just don't understand that about this sort of game in particular. You would think that those who enjoy it would understand that, like, the enjoyable part is finding things out on your own. So, it's weird that that's like a sticking point, I guess. Hello, Ataki, Misa Coco. But I will say, despite like a couple people here and there, I have to admit that people in general have been really good with the spoiler shit. I think there's only like 2 or 3 instances I can recall over like 40 plus hours. So, you know, congrats on being probably... I can't envision a fucking chat as a whole that is more restrained with that sort of thing than you guys. So you got to give credit where credit is due. Watching me get stuck on puzzles for 40 fucking hours and not helping me. So, thank you for the 100 bits, Crim. You know, the characters in the game get murdered? Fuck. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to end the stream because there goes my theory. I think it's fucked. I think I won't be able to it doesn't make any sense anymore. So I'm going to have to take a week to figure out this whole murder business. It's fun to find every little thing, sure, but what's the point if you don't enjoy it? Now everything's going to feel whack after this, huh? I just bought Shipwrecked yesterday. I think the beaver is Marina. It's possible. Was Tiamat a beaver? Is there any lore in Babylonian mythology about that connection? Post-Beaver Blues? But yeah, I think this is going to be it. This will be the final one. So if you're someone who's here now and you've been watching the VODs and you're interested in that, this is like the one you watch when you're done watching those VODs. So probably, yeah, it's going to be weird. We could just watch the VODs again. Hello, Martyr, Anchormancer. They killed Bucky for his vanilla gland. Here since day one. Sorry if there are dog noises in the background. You have the detail where his name is Bucky because of his teeth? I just got that. No, I didn't, but that changes a lot. I didn't watch the end. Shit. Well, I'm going to be talking for a little bit, but I don't know if that's enough time. You're going to spend the rest of your days finding a game to fill the beaver-sized hole? Maybe, but like here's the thing, though. People said that about both First Land and My House. It's just, you know, the fact of the matter is it seems that Matthew Patthew and all of these theorists on YouTube have inspired a new generation of developers who want to make this sort of game. So I think there will be more. I don't think this is going to be the last time we play something like this. You know, every time we think we've hit the peak, people release crazier shit. So, and I'm pretty sure this one is an ongoing project, so... Shin-Chan gets really deep like this. I don't think you're right. Hello, Recon. Hello, Heated Milkwang. Magnet. And Basilisk. Yes, and Basilisk. I don't know why I always forget that one. It's probably because it was the shortest of the worm likes. Would you say that this is a peak? Probably. Hello, Linux Maxmix. I really hope there will be one of these every 3 to 6 months. Well... Tolo 2 smart for puzzles? No, I think, you know, we were talking about this in the Discord. I think that this has been both a really good playthrough and also the worst one. Because I think that people, by and large, have been entertained by it. But if you're going by, like, how much progress the streamer makes per hour sort of thing, I'm pretty sure I'm like at the fucking back end of that metric. So went through it pretty slow. How hard have you cooked last night searching for stuff? Well, let's just say this. We went clothes shopping yesterday because tomorrow we're going to the orchestra. And while Autumn was in the changing room, I was just sitting there fluoride staring into like walls and shit, thinking about how everything linked together. I was just fucking I was in the trance zone, and like people would talk to me and they, is it you finding everything all right, sir? Well, I'm just like staring at like I don't know, some dress with flowers or something. Like, oh yeah, I'm just waiting for my wife. Sorry. Like, so hello, walking, talking robot. I found out a lot though. I found out a lot. I found out I'm almost 100% confident that I have hammered out the timeline of the game development studio. I have it categorized. I read another notepad document. There's two main things we're going to talk about. There's two stories basically. What happened at the theme park and the murders, and the actual story of the development studio itself. So, hello, Bren Coco. I have them split into two different things, and there are obviously they're both tied in, but I think it would be best to focus on one half at a time, and then link it together. Hello, NEP. But I'm not even gay, LTG yourself. I'm just what do they say? I exude gay energy despite being the straightest man on Twitch. You have that I'm like the gay avatar, dude. Like I might be straight, but I can gay bend, you know? Still in the third Shipwrecked VOD, have mercy on me. Well, this is the last one, and it's not going to be that long, I think. So it's going to be this is it, right? Hello, Avin. Thank you, Twilight's Hero, for the 48-month resub. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I have spent so much fucking time just sitting here writing shit down. I think I've explained even... I think I have a lore explanation even for the Bucky. Stay out of the water. I think I can explain even why they make those noises. So, I'm pretty... maybe not confident, but I think that even if there are parts of it that are wrong, what I have makes more or less complete sense and paints like a full picture. And the fun of this sort of game is that you're not going to get everything right. You just try your best to make something that's connected, is supported with evidence, and makes sense. What do the voice lines mean? Well, we'll get to that. We have to play a little bit of the Legacy 1995 version first. So, I enjoy Daisy's in the background. I wasn't complaining. No, I know, dude. I know. And Vainglorious, you were not even the first person who said that this stream. Will we be watching that 25-minute video? I don't know. I kind of want to get into... like, I don't think... I'm not sure it'll be that important. We can if you want, but I kind of want to fucking get the theory part out of the way, because it's 400 lines of text specifically on explaining what I think happened. So, yeah, it's a lot to go over still. It's not like I'm going to be like, okay, so here's one paragraph, that's what happened. You know, you got to fill in the gaps. There's a lot of explaining. There's some reaches. My wife heard you and made a disgust/cringe face. Yeah, that's usually women's reaction to me. She said we have a very similar humor and proceeded to put her headphones on and turn around. Well, that's great, man. You can't look that ugly? I don't know, dude. You know, I gotta say, one of my least favorite things about going clothes shopping is like that part where you put the new clothes on and you have to look in the mirror. And then you realize you're like a weird, malformed lump of a human being. Like, you don't even look human. It's just like this strange little fucking golem that's pretending to be like the rest of the non-golems. Vetus is working on a game he abandoned a while ago. What if Vetus now releases something that surpasses the Beaver game? What if all of the Vetus games previously were bad on purpose because they link into his grand master plan? And the game he releases is going to tie everything together, and it's all going to be like this profoundly enjoyable and exciting narrative. And we all were naysayers for so many years. And we're all going to feel stupid. We're going to feel downright silly. Just a bunch of goofballs. Vetus does release something better than Shipwrecked. I mean, yeah, for sure. Vetus is working on a game he didn't think was good enough before. That's dire. That's one of the most dire statements I've ever read. Wow. Holy shit. Okay. Jesus. All right, we'll leave it at that. Because this is a stream that is celebrating Shipwrecked. We're not here to be mean, to be toxic. We have every other stream to talk about Vetus. Vetus will never release a game as good as the vanilla 2023 Shipwrecked. Call me a mean name, please. Why would I want to do that? Why would I do that, Peanut Cheese? Maybe I should just call you Penis Cheese instead. Is that mean enough? Wholesome Chungus stream? I don't know. I kind of feel like yeah, you guys can be evil, but like I really want... There's something I need to talk about with you guys and run by you, but I'm saving it for next stream because this is about Shipwreck. This is a stream that is just about, tying this off nicely so we can leave satisfied and fucking be done with it. I'm gonna literally scream at my monitor, just you wait, hecking streamer guy, you're in for it. Don't take it out on your monitor, dude. You could just type it out. You don't screaming at your monitor. I'm not gonna be able to hear you. But Bucky, satisfied like a Snickers. Oh man. So I'm going to an orchestra tomorrow. We're going to the Near Orchestra, and I've never been to one in my life. I haven't even been to like a regular concert. So I don't know what the fuck to expect. Apparently the guy who like makes the game is gonna be there, like Yoko Ono or some shit. The guy with the little head. I know Autumn really likes it, which is why we're going, so I'm not sure. Not sure what to expect. Hopefully it's cool. Never clap until everyone claps. I had a friend who went to one, so it should be interesting. Near has some good music. It's the only thing you know of him. I don't know much. It's like, I know he made Drakengard as well, and I've played Drakengard many years ago. And in addition to that, Autumn showed me like this Near lore through thing that I kind of remember bits and pieces of. Drakengard was tight. Yeah, it was good. I've just never been... Like, I've never played Nier before. Thank you, Siri Advent, for the 51 months. I appreciate it. You don't have to dress up fancy. No, we're not, like, going, like, James Bond 007, but, like, my normal attire is, like, gym shorts, t-shirt, chanclas. And I feel like, even if there's no dress code, that's, like, a little bit... I can't really, in good conscience, dress up like that for something like this. So, went and I got some new slacks, got a fucking new shirt, look presentable, Watching a man wave a stick around while a band plays classy music sounds awesome. And imagine it's King Cobra sitting there using his magic wands to conquer the universe. Do not throw... No, I'm not gonna... I have nice shoes. Like, I have dress shoes. I just never use them. My funeral shoes, basically. It's the only thing... My funeral shoes and / the ones I had for security guard stuff. But... Show the Jays. What's going on, Potato? I think the first Nier game is really good, more enjoyable to me than the second one. Isn't... From what I understand, that's like a relatively unpopular opinion. I think the second one, Automata, is the one everyone goes crazy for, right? There might be cosplayers there too. Yeah, I was joking to Autumn, like I should be 2B. Like I should dress up, get the fucking ass hanging out. A big jiggly. Drakengard 2 is Yoko Taro's best game. Replicant is still good though. Still need to play through the Replicant remake. Both are good. Maybe I should have like played through them so I could appreciate this event a little bit more, but I've been like K-holed on the beaver shit, dude. I've been absolutely K-holed. I think it's surpassed the Worm game First Land at this point in terms of how invested, because I didn't sit here and make like a 1,300 line notepad for that game. I could mostly get through by just playing the game. So you would like the first Nier, I think. Maybe Maybe. I don't know. I like most things. If I had, like, managed to sit down and play something, there's not really that much where I'm like, wow, I hate this. I think this is bad. Usually, like, at worst, indifferent to something. I think that my tolerance for games is very high considering how many questionable quality games I've played over the years on Twitch. I played a lot of fucking stinkers. Played a lot of games. I was actually getting kind of pissed on Sunday because I'm like, please, God, I'm so hungry. Can this Alessa game please just stop? I just want to eat, man. It's been like 30 fucking hours. Please, God, free me. And I didn't finish. I was like, okay, I'm usually pretty patient, but at this point, I'll finish this next time. I'm hungry. Shipwrecked has really cool blend of gameplay elements from retro 64 platforms and horror tropes. And I really like the fact that it's an ARG, but it gives you the tools in the game. Not everything is in the game, but it's not like, oh, well, you have to find a hidden image in the HTML of a website, and then you adjust the contrast to see very faintly that there is a link that takes you to some jumbled audio that you have to run through a spectrogram and gives you 1/4 of a cipher sort of shit. Like, it's fucked. It's hard as far as games go, but it's not, like, unbelievably ridiculous to where you would absolutely... Like, you can figure it out on your own, realistically. At least get through the game itself. Hello, most creative name. Like, an actual full-fledged ARG is meant to have, like, an entire group of people, like, more or less brute-forcing cipher solution shit. So, there's thankfully none of that. I was worried that's what was going to happen when I saw those first instances of the cipher, because of, I watch a lot of, like, Nexpo, Nightmine, Nightmare Masterclass sort of shit on YouTube where they go through, like, just how ridiculous some of the shit you have to do is. But, they give you the cipher for the beaver scratch. The one thing that is prominent that I can say I genuinely still just do not fucking understand is, like, the Romeo, Ligma, Sugma, X videos, X hamster. Like, I still don't know. I don't think it's important to the stuff that I'm going to be talking about, but I still don't really fucking know. Except for the one bit where it's used for an audio puzzle and the fact that the blot character is spelling out Rex. I think I tried, like, merging the volcanoes NATO speak and the Wendigos, and I still couldn't figure anything out. But I'm not convinced it's entirely important for the overall thing. Thank you, Clergy, for the 60 months. I appreciate it. Half a decade of schizophrenic rants. I don't know if there's anything more to it than that. I mean, I don't really think there are red herrings in this, but maybe. Maybe it's like the music puzzle you managed to figure out without the hint originally anyways. Well, I just don't know what it would logically lead to, is the problem. Hello, Davian. Maybe someone smarter than I has figured it out, but I didn't get anything. Already gives you the blot Rex info, which in itself is something, yeah. But I mean specifically the instance where it's used in longer form. I think it's LXBCGRR, if I'm not entirely mistaken. Like, I think I've read through it so many times that I more or less remember the fucking code. This NATO nonsense. You ever use a Shakespeare cipher? Yes, that's actually what we used for the Romeo stuff. There was one puzzle where it did use those in order to give a code. So it could be a code, but the problem is the LXBCGRR would be... There's only, like, one instance of each except for R. So it would be like some 1112 thing for a notepad that I don't know of, or a keypad I don't know of. Did watch the long video last time before I had a heart attack and a jump scare on stream. I think later on it will be a good watch. That's how we have the curse of Little Man Pasta. Hello, Pop It At. The end of Bucky. Stay out of the water. Is here. I'm sure there's at least a couple of people who are breathing a deep sigh of relief that there will be no schizophrenic beaver game. It took a little longer than a week, but I have ice today too, thank God. God bless my wife. Hopefully I do it justice. I don't want to, you know, it would be, I want to have a satisfying conclusion for the people who have been following along closely. I don't want to just be like, well, what does it mean? I don't fucking know. Because some of the other ones, you know, they weren't really structured like this one, and I feel like I kind of have to do this. But you're also going to have to be patient with me. I hope he blesses yo with another one. Is it normal that my ass hurts after getting medicine on it? I don't know. It depends what you mean, because, like, what does getting... I don't want to know the specifics. But getting medicine on a shot, yeah, that's normal. That's completely fucking normal. Getting a shot on the hiney is a fucking pain in the ass. Shipwrecked did a fantastic job with the breadcrumbs. Yeah, and I think most of it is explainable. I think the entire game... I think the entire story of Cogware is explainable. Now, the stuff where it starts getting into, like, the amalgamation, I think I have a compelling theory with what's going on there. But that's where, like, if there's going to be major, like, holy shit, that's not even close, it's going to be with that part. I screwed you on the emote. I'm loading the new version. I need to stop going, I need to go take, like, a vocal training class where I don't have any ums, ahs, hms. Is there anything where you have no clue on at all? Yes. Yes. But I'm going to, like, save that for the end, because I don't want to be like... I'm going to get through the things that I... Like, the theory that I have before I throw in, like, what is this? What is that? And cause a bunch of confusion. But there are a couple things where I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? You have any theories about Al? Yes. I think I concretely know what happened to Al. Believe it or not, I think it was... But I have to thank chat, because, like, the crumb that led me there was something that chat observed, not me. I put it together, I think, but I wouldn't have been able to without an observation from chat. There are, like, a couple things that chat really helped me with. It was that, and I'm trying to remember the other thing. Oh, I know what it is, but I'm not going to get into it. Where's the flow diagram? I thought about making it. I have some images that will, like groups of images that'll help when we get to that point, but I don't have an impressive video. I'm not a video editor. So, yeah, it's going to be an awkward-ass explanation, but I think it makes sense. Thank you, Beleedle, for the 17 months. My mom always said that I speak like I have a potato in my mouth. That's fucked up. That's really goddamn mean. Who would edit videos? That's a good question. I don't know how you do it, Ghost. I really don't. Man. So, fuck, dude. F? I hope not. Did shit get fucked up? Is my stream bricked? Searching for idle sounds of each starling and got spoilered hard. We good? Still good for me so far? Still working for me? Okay. Okay. Seth, behave. Come here. Come here, Seth. Come here. No stinky Samoyed yodeling, okay? You got it? No. Hey, drop the gun. She didn't drop it. She didn't drop it. She's such an angry little dog now. She just barks at everyone. She's a little stair troll. Sometimes she sits on the stairs and starts, like, barking at dogs who try to go up or down. So... she's a crotchety little old lady. Is it as simple as Connor went into depression mode after Mark stopped funny development of the game and Connor altered the game to tell the story of the game from his twisted POV, then after his suicide his son? It's more than that, but that's part of it. There's a few things that are being left out, but that is part of it, yes. They did not pay the bridge toll. There's a few things that are, like, a few lines that are a little hard to connect the dots with. But I think I managed. Let's start playing the video game, because there's something I found in-game that I haven't fully explored in the 1995 version. So I'm not going to have to play through the entire thing. It should be pretty quick to see what it is I found. I opened a door to a new area, and I closed after, so I don't know what's inside. Hopefully not something that completely destroys what I have in mind for the actual theory part of things. But let's get into it. Let's make this brief. Let's make this succinct, and let's get on with it. I'm sure some of you, after so many hours, are eager to find out what the fuck is going on. Hello, Dan PMK, Caramel and Mocha. Let me see. Uh-oh. Alright, so we're... Oh, okay. I got it. Caught up on the VODs for this, so I have a couple ideas on what's going on, but nothing concrete. Well, let's get through this, and then we'll start talking about it. I need to... I should have practiced speaking. Like, I should have gotten, like, a speech. I thought about just reading it right after... like, right off the notes, but I'm not going to do that. I just have the notes as a way to kind of, you know, guide me in the right direction. When did this guy without mouth started showing up? He only shows up in this, and I'm convinced he's not important. He's just there to fuck with you when you skip through the dialogue. He doesn't seem to mean anything. Okay. We don't need to... We've seen this. I got shock therapy to eliminate my speech impediment. I'm a Texan, so I think that's just part of my racial bonus. I don't know if there's... Like, you can't take the war stomp out of a Taran, you know what I mean? It's just there. Should send a recording to Ghost of you reading off a script and he makes a Tolopat video. Well, the thing is, like, it's not really my wheelhouse. Like, I don't really do theories, so I'm not gonna pretend that I'm, like, fucking, you know, make this video. Like, I know what's happening. Looked up some of the dev stuff, and the Mouthless fellow seems to literally be a shitpost meme. Yeah, it doesn't seem important. Hello, doofus. Ever do a stream like this again? I have a website I like to show you that helps create charts and other such. Is it the one Ghost linked me? I always do everything like... It's not that I half-ass it, but like the tools I use are not necessarily the best. Like MS Paint. No, we're not going to hit the otter. I was walking around both versions of the game looking for shit, trying to figure out the doors, which I didn't. And admittedly, I looked in the files for Legacy, and I found a few things, but I found a lot of videos I didn't see. And then it made me realize there's more to it. There's more stuff to find. And this is this seems familiar, right? In the main game, the trailer shows you jumping off this bench to get to an invisible wall. There's a door down here. There's a fucking door down here, and it leads to this hell nightmare. It never fucking ends, right? That thing's beating as if it was a heart. Where else have we seen a heart before, I wonder? Now, like I said, I closed after this, so I don't know how much is realistically going to be found here. I'm probably just going to have to reference videos I haven't seen in-game. Okay. That seemed to, Okay. I think it's safe to say that since that made her disappear, there's something like that we have to find in all of them. All of the minigames. I have no idea where the other two would be if that is the case. Let me see if the little form thing here changes. Because whenever you finish the minigame by failing it here, there's like a weird creature, like they pop up and you can, it gives you the Starling form document. Alright, if this is the regular document, I want you to pay close attention to this part. Okay, it is. If you don't catch it, I'll talk about it, but there's something subtle here that I want you to remember. I don't know where the vertical wheel is of the walrus. I hope you like the Nier concert. I'm jealous as hell. Ghost, fly over, dude. You can come with us. We're gonna fucking smuggle you in. Only caught the teeth thing. So let me see. It could be... I don't think this weird shit is nothing. Let's go explore the other levels. I'm not going to say what it is exactly that you should be paying attention to there until we get to the theory part of it, which should be soon. Going to one in Vancouver as part of a vacation with the wife. Hell yeah, brother. That's awesome. I don't know. I don't know what to expect with it. I've never been to some fancy pants event like that. Do I have to get one of those little masquerade masks? Like, get a little anime waifu, since it's an anime concert? I'll get UPS to overnight myself. Just drive, bro. You can make it. You can definitely make it if you start driving now. What if you find 10 more hours of content here? That would be cool, but I don't know if it's... The things that I have cobbled together make sense, regardless of whether I've missed a few things.
I really need your help.
Thank you, Big Wayne, for the 88 months.
Really
Appreciate it. Hope you're good, dude.
Like you did, but with my own boat. Hence why
Thank
I'm
you,
here.
Neko-chan Ni, for the
My
39
boat is
months.
stuck
I
on the
appreciate
top
it.
of a hill, and I need you to get it down for me. Just don't move it if
Stay out of the water.
There's a lot
Is that
of
the hint?
things around here.
Just stay out of the water. It's got to be in the water somewhere. Okay. I'm not sure what the fuck I'm gonna have to do to find whatever. That olive one was pretty sinister, and there's the little flashing darkness every half second. Why does he glow? He's part of the CIA. It's part of the theory. We'll get to that. Okay. God damn it. This is gonna be annoying, isn't it? Normally I'm okay with taking some time, but I really want to get to the part where I tell you my epic gay theory. Holy shit, dude. It's not letting me get any fucking program here. Good God. Beaver game forever? He's stuck in this fucking level forever. Oh. Okay, so turning the camera fucks me there. God damn it. God damn it. Okay. Bucky!
Listen, I really need your help.
Epic fail, yeah.
I had a
completely dog
really
shit failure.
bad boat accident, like you did, but with my own
Went to
boat.
Carnegie for one. Thought I
Hence
needed formal wear,
why
but
I'm
nope.
here.
One of the
My
forklifts
boat is
stuck in the
stuck on
gravel
the
at work
top of a
tonight, and
hill,
it took
and
about
I
an hour and a
need
half
you
to
to
pull
get
it
down for
out.
me.
But on the upside, I was
Just
clocked in, so I got
Don't move
paid.
it if it ever gets
Damn,
stuck.
dude.
There's a lot of strange things around here.
Come on. I wonder if, since I don't remember it being quite this oppressive even in this version. I wonder if that is because I've gotten to that heart area. Okay. Stay out of the water, Bucky. I need to be really observant, because, like, if nothing else happens there, like, if there was no reveal whatsoever about that, then that it stands to reason that there's going to be other shit in the levels I have to find, and something will happen when I find all three, right? That makes sense to me, at least. Puppet combo crossover, stay out of the house, Bucky. Stay out of Granny's house? It's fucked up that his eyes look like that. What is that? I really couldn't tell you. Alright. Fuck me. Saw Matt Pat did a gameplay video on it maybe like a few days beforehand, but that's it. No, I think that, like, a lot of people in the stream knew about this and probably knew a lot of the puzzles and stuff before I played it. I was pretty late to the party on this one because I found it not through any recommendation, but going through the new games on Steam. Maybe the arrow's a hint? Maybe, but it's pointing to the place where you would normally go in this mini game. What do you mean? She means that the dog is farting too much. So Banjo has a really nasty habit of eating shit that we're trying to curb but have not been altogether successful with. And so imagine, like, dog farts are already pretty rank, but imagine dog farts from a dog who eats shit. It's rough, dude. It's rough. Does he have access to so much shit? Well, we have 4 dogs, so there's a yard where there's shit. We have a pooper scooper and we pick it up, but we don't get every little piece. Sister leaves a litter box out on the landing that he does drive-by shit investigations on. Sometimes little man will shit and he will just go and eat it right out. Sometimes he will literally park next to Daisy while she's outside about to shit, waiting for like a fresh batch. It's honestly so fucking gross, dude. It makes me want to throw up. It's so nasty, dude. It's fucked. We are trying. I literally had an idea. Like, I need to let, like, shit accumulate and put, like, really, really hot ghost pepper sauce on all of the piles of shit so he eats it and, like, burns his mouth and starts, making that association. Okay. Uh-oh. I'm hurling, I'm sorry. Come on. Gonna develop a taste for spicy shit? Well, then unseasoned shit would be less appealing, one would think, right? Hot sauce thing worked with my dog. He stopped eating cat shit after a few weeks. Shit tier RNG dog habits. Well, the thing is, like, that's part of why we adopted him, right? That's why Autumn made the decision that we needed to keep him, because, you know, he's fucked up. Like, he's got epilepsy, he eats shit, like, he had hookworms or some shit when we got him. He's like a Z tier dog. He's like the shittiest dog ever, honestly. But he is really sweet. Like, he's a very good dog deep down, but there's a lot of things to work on. Okay, uh-oh. So if there is a fucking thing here, let's assume it's a door. If I were a door in this nightmare, where would I be? Man, this darkness part is super oppressive. It is very difficult. I hope it's not a thing where you have to jump down and, like, open the door while falling. And you can fuck it up. I would hope that since there's, like, at least a little bit of difficulty with this part, finding the door would be easier. But we don't even have a hint from a video. It would have to be in a place that is unlikely one would stumble upon through, like, a regular playthrough of the level. Follow the arrow into the water from the spawn? Maybe. It could definitely have something to do with the water, but... shit. I don't think there has been an instance of invisible, like, path shit in this version of the game yet. God damn it, man. I don't know. Just winning might be the secret in this hell level. No, we've done that before, though. I think maybe I had to go back. Okay, let's try just jumping in the water then, from the beginning, like with the arrow. Possible for it to be a wall you could just phase through? Yeah, I mean, anything's possible in Bucky Land. But, oh my god, I fucked it up again. I can only fuck it up one more time before I actually just lose the minigame. Alright. Well, let's go. We have to find the Goose's minigame thing, too. It could be that there's just, like, only there to show you the heart and that's it. What if you grab the boat while in Hell Darkness mode? I don't know. I think the easiest way to determine whether or not there's something to this would be to do the other minigame, because it's much easier mechanically. So if we find something there, you know, I think logic would dictate that there's something to it. It also is not... It could not necessarily be in the minigame. It could be in their respective little level that gets unlocked after. wonder what's up with that one fucking tree. There's like one tree on top of a wall. I wish I had that chair. Mine broke a few days ago. Rip. Curse of Gnome? No, no. No gnome curses. Come on, dude. Come on. Well, if it takes too long, I'll just get to the part where we do the epic heckin' game theory. But I would like to see how much there... Because I'm certain there's a lot that I haven't found out about in this version of the game. But I also don't want it to genuinely end up being like another week of beaver game. Okay, so let's see what happens.
Oh, look who's at the show. It's the party, aren't you? Listen,
I watched Bleach instead of the CWC documentary. You guys can call me Captain Francito now. I'm not gonna call you that ever.
I left the oven on, multiple of them. But you go in there and just turn it
So
off.
the last week of streams been... I feel like the last week is either going to be a situation that you immensely like and appreciate, or you completely fucking hate. For the same reason, because I'm like a schizophrenic when I play these games, and it's not always... Oh, hey there, lady. I'm not sure what I would be doing in here. It could be there was just that one door to show you that there's a heart. And there's nothing more to it. That's a possibility. Schizo hits harder when you're the one in the driver's seat? Yeah, you go fucking crazy. Jump off the stove into the area above? Yes, but you can't really do that. There's no wall jumping in this version. You can't, like, bounce. You don't have all of the epic platforming tricks. You don't have the, hanging on a ledge feature. You don't have the wall jumping feature. You don't even really have the triple jump feature. So it's pretty limited in that regard.
You go in there and just turn it off for me whenever they start to smoke. Thank you.
There's empirically superior dopaminergic circuits in his brain. No, I don't think so. I don't know what the fuck that means, but I am... Oh, wait. You know what? Hold on. Maybe it's a different part of it. I can get up here, but... It's not on the side it was previously. Parts of your brain that regulate motivation and attention? No, dude, not really. My circuits for those are both dog shit, dude. It's just when something grips me, it's like gorilla grip. Fucking, you know. I have a really hard time paying attention to things that I'm not really wanting to do. You beat the worm game? Sure, but like... I don't get... Like, I don't start doing, like, for example, my taxes... and start going like, oh my god, what's the best way to do taxes? How can I get the most out of tax season? It just doesn't work that way. Like, it's always shit that's really, like, inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. Like the Minecraft dungeon. Spent, like, fucking untold hours on that goddamn Minecraft dungeon. Like, 10 hours a day. Fucking, you know, only thing I could think about. Also, yes, this. This noise does appear in this version of the game. I think it's the heart that makes that noise, personally.
Look who's decided to show up. It makes the party, aren't you? Listen, I was cooking some.
I've been cooking some stuff too.
Right now, but,
I've been cooking, bro.
I left the oven on, multiple of them. But you go in there and just turn it off for me whenever they start to smoke. Thank you.
Anyone who can withstand 8 hours? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. Don't undersell me like that. Winnie the Pooh was literally a 20-hour-long stream to the point where, like, my fucking ex was being messaged so that she could tell me to get off the stream because I needed to eat. It was like 20 fucking hours or some shit. I don't remember exactly, but it was a lot longer than 8, dude. It was an experience. Oh, yeah, yeah, oh, yeah. Not to brag, but I'm as good as you at video. That's not a brag, dude. I fucking suck dick at video games. Wish I could have watched that. It is lost media. I don't think that stream exists in any form. So, you had to be there. Okay. I'm still convinced there's more to find. You ever saw the ending clips? Well, it was literally me playing Winnie the Pooh baseball for 20 hours. How exciting could it have possibly been? And back then, the pre-stream didn't exist either. It was just like 5 minutes saying hi and then into the games. The pre-stream was not a concept back in the day. I stole that from DSP. Redemption run? I don't have anything to redeem, dude. I'm perfect as I am. So why did you do that? I thought it would be fun. I like doing fun things on stream. And then at some point it kind of stopped being fun and I was like, oh shit, well maybe I gotta do it. Like I don't want to be a fucking quitter bitch, right? Okay, Christopher Robbins asked, he doesn't need redemption? Exactly. Remember the bits and pieces of it, but I know it was multiple times where I tuned back in and like, damn, we're still going. Redeem your soul or a coupon at Domino's. What does it mean? There's also something important here. I think every single one of these forms has something important. That's what made me convinced with like the, we'll get to it. We'll get to it, dude. Fuck. I'm about to just turn this off so I could do the theory, because I don't want to blue ball you guys. And I don't know how much I'm going to find here. Stay out of the Tiffany waters. My balls. Turn off the stove. Too late, mate. Alright, alright. Let me see. Oh. 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 Did that actually accomplish anything? I think Winnie the Pooh and Headless Bloodletting Beast with no rolling or dodging were some of the longest streams. I think the very first Bloodborne DLC stream I ended at 23 hours because I thought it would be funny if I did a 23-hour stream and never did a 24-hour one. So when someone asked, I could regale them with that story. Here we are, almost 9 years later. Watch the legendary Xbox One run. I think I remember that convo. Hello, King Akiran. Are there more stoves? I don't think so. Maybe. It didn't seem like nothing, right? But... Time to turn the stove off when you first enter here? Now that is an interesting idea. I think it's probably fucked this run then. But that would make sense. It was you who did Udex gun to your 5x speed? I mean, I did do that. I'm sure there were others. It was one of the ones who did, at the very least. I don't know if I was the guy. I did like an entire... You know what? Let me try that. I did an entire run where I played level 1 Dark Souls 3 on 2x speed. That shit was fucked up. That shit was really fucked up. Good times. Very good times. I was inspired because someone was, like, another streamer was saying that, like, it's impossible. Vort, once you get to Vort, it's unbeatable. Like, you can't beat Vort at 2x speed SL1. And I'm like, this dude's in... Well, I'm not gonna say what I thought, but I was like, okay, let's prove that idea wrong. Used to be a... I guess I still am, but, like, I don't know, dude. Back then, I had something to prove. There's something wrong with me. Fucking, just trying to fuck with people. some reason, the only Soulsborne stream I have is a core memory is the DS2 modded run. 16 hours of Freed. That was a good one. The Freed arc in general was pretty funny. Like, the couple of weeks of that DLC being new were pretty funny in general. World Rec. Well, no, here's the funny thing about the 2x speed run. I remember the title was like 2x 2x speed run, and I had some fucking idiot come in and say something along the lines of, "You're lying. You said that there were going to be 2 speed runs." And I'm like, dude, okay, maybe I can understand how you could misinterpret that title before you click in the stream, but I feel like once you see what's happening, you should say, "Oh, it's not what I thought. It's like different." But he doubled down and was like, he's threatening to report me to Twitch for false advertising. So I called him a mean name. And he was like, what kind of streamer are you? You just call your chat mean names? I'm like, no, I'm calling you specifically the mean name. And then I called him it again. So, it was a good time. And I didn't get in trouble with Twitch, by the way, in case you were curious. Turns out that guy was maybe he was dumb. Hello, Rubber Ducky.
You go in there and just turn it off for me whenever.
Goodbye, Cool 109 Love.
Thank you.
Yeah, I called him a gooby snoobert. I was like, "You gooby snoobert. Stop, you." I don't know, it's kind of irritating when you call one person specifically something, be it good or bad, and they're like, "Oh, so this is what you think of the entire chat." No. Are you dumb? Do you have a problem? One of the ARG type games? Yes. Find out anything new this stream? You can get to the heart in Olivia's minigame, so I'm seeing if there's more shit to find. What if you think of the chat, though? Well, I don't think of chat as a monolith, you know? There's a lot of different people in here who, you know, come from different walks of life. It would be unfair to characterize them as, like, a singular group of people. I mean, there's some instances where you kind of have to, but, like, in terms of what they're like on a personality level,
It makes the party
it's difficult. Alright, I'm going to try this oven thing, and if it doesn't work, I'm just going to the theory. I'm like, bristling. I have to get into this shit. Hello, ABC. I have to break my fucking chains, dude. I have to be unshackled.
Thank you.
I haven't had a day with the majority of the day not thinking about this game since I started. What are we looking for? I don't know. I know there's shit in here. The reason I'm looking for things in here is because I opened up the RAR file and found videos that will be used in the theory I have, but I don't know how many of them are accessible in the actual game. I know I found something new, but there's also a note in there that I think is very important, which would suggest it's a lore note. So I think, no, it's not cheating. You're literally meant to do that. One of the first things we did, actually, was going into the fucking main things of the game. A lot of the videos do appear to be not really used for shit, but it's little things that give minor details that I think are important. And one notable thing is apparently there were videos that the dev removed from the folder of the main game. So if the dev did not want you looking at the videos, they would have removed them from either version. And the ones that are meant to be secret are pretty much all hidden behind YouTube links.
I was cooking some stuff for the wolves. They're getting a little hungry right now. But, I left the oven on.
So I think it's fair play. If it makes me a cheater, then a cheater I am.
Thank you.
How come there's no Ninja Turtles ARG/anal log horror creepypasta? I don't know. Maybe you could be the first, JFC. Maybe you could make Ninja Turtles.exe. Knew you were a time-traveling racist. So I'm trying one specific thing. Like someone in chat had the idea that after failing this, if we beeline to the stove and turn it off, does something new happen? I want to see. If nothing happens, I'm just going to get into the theory. Because it's going to take probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Just to get through all of the shit I have written down. It's going to be the most schizophrenic moment I think I've ever had. So hopefully it will make some semblance of sense. Just dropped an anal log a couple hours ago if you're interested. It's a shame there isn't more. I mean, there's like fucking a ton though. Like, I think at some point, you know, it's a game that you have to pay $7 for that can easily give you 30 plus hours of shit. What more could you realistically ask for, right? Ignored the lore. Well, that's what I said. Like, I'm not going to have the best playthrough. I can't turn this off. Thank you, Clay Young, for the 60 months. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm not going to have the best puzzle run, and I'm not going to have the best theory, so I have to try to have the best mix of the two. Alright. I'm going to piss, and then we're going to get on to the finale. We're going to get on to the game theory. Alright. Don't even know how I'm going to begin doing this. Like I said, I don't think I've ever given like a dissertation to anyone in my life, let alone a chat of a bunch of people who think I'm like the dumbest person alive. So I am admittedly a little bit nervous about this. So we'll get through this. I have my little notes. So a little bit to get out of the way prior. This is the first time I've ever gotten this deep into like the lore of a video game. I have never made like this sort of investigative theory thing before, so there is almost assuredly many parts that are wrong, but you know, I did my best. And there's going to be it's going to be cut into two main parts. We're going to start explaining Cogware and the actual game Shipwrecked, right? So man, where do we even start? Where do we even fucking start? Okay, like I think the stuff I wrote down is going to make more sense as like a, you know, like you read it and it makes perfect sense. I didn't run it by anyone. I thought about it, but I decided against it. So let me see. Where is this? All right. So the very fucking beginning is the game Cogware is, you know, the in-universe... Oh, that's another thing I have to talk about. In-universe means, like, in the universe of the game, because it's an alternate reality, right? So there's going to be references where I say, like, something is in-universe, which means, you know, that's what's happening in the, you know, continuity of the game. So the first thing we have is We Are Cogware. Cogware Games was originally an idea that three friends out of Silicon Valley had one night, founded by Connor Thomas, Elizabeth Baker, and Harry Waters. We are a collective of fans of the new and thriving world of gaming, and we put innovation at the forefront. With our first ever demo of the game Blunder Cover being a hit with crowds over at a local convention in 1995 and a thriving partnership with Broadside Animation Company leading to the creation of the magnificent Shipwrecked. We won't hold back on getting our hands dirty with game development. After all, that's where the name comes from. Okay, so we have the names of the three main devs, and you can see that Elizabeth is also known as Liz B. That's an important thing. Like, whenever there's a reference to Liz B in any of this, it is Elizabeth Baker who is being discussed, all right? So, more or less, the timeline is in 19... There's 5 versions of the game in universe. There's the one we just played, which is the 1995 Legacy version. There's a mention of a 1996 version that I believe is only mentioned in that note in Layer 3. It's a note where Connor describes making progress on a few areas of the game. Notably, he points out that he finishes... Here, let me read the note out in its entirety, just to make sure that it makes sense. Because I think... hold on. Okay. Devlog progress. Okay, as of today, the beach, park, and hull are all complete. Even got Olive in here. Just need to set up her teleport once we have the minigames completed. Smart, by the way. 96. So 96 is referring to the game, and we know in 1995... the 1995 version of the game, he has an argument with Mark because the Legacy version doesn't look like Bucky at all. And we know this is different from that version because in the 1995 version, the hull, which is the area with the bed, is not present. And in this, he says it is. So this is 96 is when development of like the main one starts. So despite having an argument with Mark in... well, you know what? We're going to have to listen to some of this. Let's revisit the phone calls that happen over the course of that game. I have them saved so I won't have to play the game. I'm just going to play these really quick, and because I think it's important to show that these for a variety of reasons.
Who's this?
Hey, this is Mark.
Oh, hello. What's going on?
Well, today's the day, buddy. Hey, you got the demo ready?
Demo? Oh, yeah. It's all set up. When are you coming over?
5 p.m. sharp. I'll be bringing Brandon over to film the commercial, like you asked.
Oh, already?
This is 95 or 96. This is definitively in 95.
All right.
All right, 3 things to note about that one. Connor seems to be like, demo? He's like surprised at the concept of there being like he you know, clearly Mark has mentioned the demo, but he expresses surprise. Mark is with Brandon, and instead of Connor going over to Broadside, Mark and Brandon are going over to the development offices of the game. That's really important, and remember that Brandon is there. These things may not make entire sense at the moment, but once we get further in, it's all important.
So, you use this little stick with your thumb down here.
Mm-hmm, yeah. This is the weirdest remote I've ever held.
Yeah. It is not too well designed. Just hold it like this, okay?
Gotcha. So, a hand in the middle, and a hand on the right?
Yeah. It's got all the best buttons.
All right.
The Nintendo 64 buttons are not the best.
Yeah. Now move the joystick around.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. He's walking. Connor, look, it doesn't even look like Bucky.
What?
Buddy, you know what I mean. Just, look, this is Bucky. This is the face millions around the world recognize as a pop culture icon. That is a beaver in a blue suit.
The beaver in a blue suit is important because the only place Bucky has a blue suit is the 1995 Legacy version. So that's absolute confirmation that the product that they're talking about here is that fucked up version of the game. It's pretty obvious, but that's a 100% confirmation, right? Okay, so there's 2 more to go through.
Who's this wolf guy? Why is he here? Chief of the Wolves. Yeah, of course. Just Connor, you're telling me with the vast amount of characters that we own, like Hunter, Scrap, Pipsqueak, all of these characters, you picked up some random wolf and dropped him into the game? We're not making this game for your son, Connor. We're making this game for the millions of people who look up to our brand. With all due respect, this is... Connor, just... Look, I'll give it to you straight. Do you have any idea how much money your company sunk into studio grounds?
I think it's worth pointing out at this point that the 1995 version of the game is called Broadside. We know that Broadside was the precursor to Studio Grounds. So a game being developed in 1995 is not called Studio Grounds, it's called Broadside. So I'm not 100% sure exactly when, but Studio Grounds is probably being worked on or done by 1995, maybe later. But they're talking about sinking money into it. So keep that in mind.
Do you really think we can extend
There's a lot
our
of things you're
generosity
going to
to
have
you
to
for
keep in
that
mind.
much longer to create this?
Sorry.
I don't know.
The
what
further
you-
we
what
get
you
in, the
call
more
it,
it's
a
going to
game?
start linking
I
together.
can't
It's going to be a
even
little bit
tell.
of a slow start.
I'm saying we're done. We're not putting up with this project anymore. Unless you can pitch something to us that is the technical marvel you describe, I don't want to see it. We cannot keep sinking money into this.
Just get out. Get out! Fuck out!
Now, I have a question. Question I want you to kind of think about in the back of your mind as we go forward.
See.
How many people in 1995 recorded phone calls? How would that audio exist in the lore of the game? You know, that's kind of weird, right? Like, maybe just think about how all of the things in the game were recorded and why they're in the game and why all of... Because Connor, in the first call, you know, answered the phone, didn't even know who it was. So it's probably not, you know I'm about to have a call with Mark, I'm going to record it. You could, but hold on. I know that recording stuff existed, but just, you know, it doesn't seem important right now. Just keep it in mind. So after this, you know, they have a dispute, and Connor goes back to the drawing board to make the 1996 version of the game, which he pitches to Mark again. Thank you, Potion Yeller, for the 53 months. I appreciate it. We're doing I'm trying to sum up the last 50 hours of streams. So I'm doing my best to try to do a epic game theory just on a Twitch stream. All right. So here's the thing, too. Now we need to talk about 2 audio logs that are recorded in Layer 3, where it goes back to the one where he's talking about 96 and he's going to show it to Mark, right? And then there's another audio log where it says his standards are so high, I don't know. Maybe, would you guys like me to read the notes verbatim or give, like, my summary going forward? Because I have the notes and I can read most of them just absolutely verbatim. It's just going to take a little longer. I'll probably just do it, in the interest of being thorough, just do it verbatim. So in Layer 3... the area with the Mount Pinatubo volcano puzzle, Gary's area, there's the devlog progress, which, okay, as of today, the beach, park, and hole are all complete. Even got Olive in here. Just need to set up her teleport. Once we have the minigames completed... Oh, it's smart, by the way. 96. Sorry, just kind of excited. Why am I sorry for that? Today is a good day. Anyways, everything is going smoothly, I think. Liz needs to get back to me with Walter's model plus his head texture, but it's smooth sailing, I guess you'd say. I think I've patched out all the bugs too, even the one Harry found in the hole. Where you get soft lock behind the bed, how do you even do that? I'm planning to talk to Mark later. I can't wait to show him the progress. I think it's going to go great. We'll have to see though. That's all. Signing off for tonight. Hello, Gada. This stream is going to be completely indecipherable. I'm sorry. This is like a unique... I'm trying to explain things about the game we've been playing all week, and it's not going to make any fucking sense unless you've watched like a lot of it. I don't know if I could boil it down into something that's sensible to a normal human being without that much knowledge of the game. Okay, so Another thing that I'm not going to read verbatim is there are logs in the game called affirmations. The affirmations are personal recordings of Mark, which he's not part of the development team. So, you know, I think that's kind of weird. And now the second audio log in the area is going to explain a second meeting with Mark. And the audio log devlog Mark goes as follows. Put our hearts and souls into it, but is that even enough? His standards must be set astronomically high. Plus, after, you know, the thing I found, I just got to be honest, I feel so much less safe around that man. So, let's talk about the thing he found. One of the big reveals of this game is that there is a thumb drive that is meant to be a demo. It's meant to be a demo so that they could show it to Broadside and pitch their game, but it gets replaced with files documenting murders. I am going to have to read all of the fucking notes for this part, which is going to be hold on, let me fucking find them. There's going to be a little bit of reading, so give me a second. I was at the offices last night. I had brought a drive with me. It contained our presentation for Broadside. I didn't grab that drive on the way out. So remember, offices. Mark is going to them, and they are not going to Broadside. So it would stand to reason that the offices mentioned here are the offices of Cogware Games, not Broadside or anything like that. So he didn't grab, like, an employee's drive or something. When I slid my drive into the slot, nothing I included was there, but instead a branching web of folders, the contents of which were repulsive. Many different folders, so many names, so many labels, and so many mistakes, it's sickening. Folders dedicated to old cartoons, but not just that. Cover-ups, too. Every slip of the mask was justified. Their goodwill was rooted in fiction. Controversies on Bulletin were silenced. Any bad blood the company had silently fizzled out. These folders contain documents of these lies created only to keep their stories straight. It goes beyond public issues, though. People have died at their parks, and you think it's bad now? Get this. A little girl was crushed in the squirrel cruise, quite literally head caught between the track and the boat. I saw the pictures. It's as bad as you think. And it gets worse. So much worse. Not only have guests died, but employees have too. Before Studio Grounds, they owned an entire island. And on that island, at the very least, there were 3 deaths and no news coverage. Why? Fiction. It's all rooted in fiction. It's a miraculous recovery that boy had. Near-death experience, yet he's back in the park. It was a cover story. It gets so much worse, though. On that drive, photos of bodies, 4 in total, very heavy blacks and whites. This wasn't the original image, it was a copy. The fact these images are photocopied to me at least means that people shared images of dead people, and you want to know what else? There's footage of the murders. I want more than anything to say what I found, yet I can't. It'd ruin us. These guys are our only paying clients in years. Fucking hate this. I guess I'm writing this more for, dunno, relief, peace of mind. Hard to say, really. All I know is that this is going to stick with me. Congrats, Listo. This is Mark. No, this is Connor. This is Connor, because why would Mark be giving a presentation for Broadside? Mark is the CEO of Broadside. This has to be Connor, and I'll explain why. But think about that. So this drive is confusing, right? Well, I need to show you a video. This is skipping the timeline a little bit. We're going to very briefly, even though this is about Cogware, we're going to talk about starlings, which starlings / dwellers in the game are, the dwellers are the in-game equivalent, which are fucked up monsters that chase you, right? And starlings, spoiler alert, are basically a fusion of humans with a mineral to fuse them to like a mascot suit. That's what a starling is. I don't have the full video, but we're gonna... There's something in here I need you to see for this next part to make sense. And this is also... so there's innovation labs. And I'm going to skip through this to the relevant parts, because we're not talking about these guys yet. But keep in mind, the only thing that matters right now is remember the order in which these pictures are presented. There's Olivia, there's Gary, and then there's Nathan. That doesn't mean anything right now, but it will later. And this is Ling conversion, which is almost assuredly Starling conversion. The left side of the video is cut out, so you kind of have to like fill in the blanks. So I'm going to read, is in part manufactured by Broadside Innovation, Broadside Beach Attraction, an island previously known as mineral was found in what workers called in the island, full of veins and seemingly something within the dirt and rock of the island when seemed to possess strange abilities. Every single... Yeah, you're going to have to, like, kind of read some of this because it's cut off. But it's basically discussing that there is something underneath the island that is Broadside Beach, full of fucking crystals that do something. All right? Trial with some kind of living organism caused the subjects to jitter and twitch. From the rats, the effect was even stronger. New on that of a rat began to form like plants sprouting, used with the materials appears to alter and change whatever condition they're in. Okay, so remember two things from this. The important things right now from this video, which we will almost assuredly be going back to at points, is the condition they are in and the Broadside Innovation Lab. All right, so there is a... Now we're going to look at an image of a starling form. Let me get it really quick. Sorry, I know this is not exactly the most structured and well presented dissertation ever, but I need to show you what these look like so you know what I'm talking about. All right. So this is what they look like. There's an application form, and it says they've gone from a small idea and experiment to an essential part of a broadside vacation, yada, yada, yada. I'll read it. As a result, they are very expensive to both create and even more expensive to destroy in case of any damage caused. By seizing this form, you hereby swear at risk of termination that this starling has been checked, tested, and is healthy, and in a sound enough state that it will not attack any nearby guests, resident staff, or another person or animal. Penalties will be issued if this responsibility is mishandled. This starling passes... If this starling passes his test in the park, you may be able to receive compensation for your time. So there's the name of the person. We know Nathan Stewart is one of the murder victims. So this is proof that they're turning murder victims with these minerals into these starlings. The cause of death, the sex, the target mascot suit, deformities, and the verdict. So think about this for a second. What does this have to do with the fucking drive? Well, there's one employee that is not talked about a lot in Cogware, and that is Harry Waters. So there's a few points to mention here. In-game, in-universe, the Broadside Animation Company is more or less meant to be like an analog of Disney in our world, right? So how the fuck is a brand new 3-dev team going to get a license deal with Disney, basically, to make a game and use their intellectual property? That seems like a stroke of extreme luck, right? Well, what if Harry Waters... What if Lewis W means Lewis Waters? Tolomeo, you're so fucking stupid. That's not what the YouTuber I watch said. That's a reach. All right, I'll give you that. That's a big fucking reach. But what about this one? What about this Starling application form written by a Tiffany Waters? That seems... Now, that's a little bit too much to suggest that it was a coincidence. So what I think happened is Harry must have been the one who put the shit on the drive. It is possible that at least one, maybe both of his parents were part of the Broadside Animation Company, specifically the Innovation Lab, turning people into fucked up monsters, and maybe he was actually the one who put all of the events of the game into motion. And if he was related to people who were, you know, super deep into the company, it would also explain why he was able to be in a dev studio that got a contract with Disney. I thank you, Big Animu Titties, for the 30-month resub. I appreciate it. So, like, in the other forms, Lewis abbreviates his name. And this Johnson doesn't seem to put his surname in it at all. So I think the last names in general here mean something, and that the fact that she spelled her name as Waters in here is important. But I will get to that a little bit later. The point is, it makes perfect logical sense that the entire reason this shit happened is because Harry put all of those files on the drive. Connor found it, and not only was he shocked, but his demo was erased. So when Mark calls him and he's like, oh, fuck, what? Like, the timeline checks out perfectly. So they found out about that shit, like, at the beginning of this entire thing, and it was because of Harry. I think that makes complete sense. I honestly don't know how else they would get the files, considering that Harry Waters and Tiffany Waters are almost assuredly related, right? Harry planned to expose Broadside from the beginning with Cogware then. Yes, but it's not certain that Connor and Liz were in on it. It seemed like Connor just kind of found it, and he didn't say specifically what happened, right? There's not enough information on that. Let me go back to my notes. So are you all following so far? Does this make sense up until this point? One of the devs of Cogware is related to people who are making the fucked up creatures. So that would give them an avenue to get the information to begin with. Give me a second. Let me get back to where I need to be. There's a lot here. Okay. Tiffany's a nice name, TBH. God. So I think that let's talk about Liz. Let's talk about Liz B, and let's talk about the structure of the game as a whole. So I'm just going to go out and say it. I'm pretty sure that despite originally being created to be a mockery of Mark's wife, the in-universe character that is Stumbler is Liz. The reason... I have a few reasons for this, but it's also important to remember that in-universe you can email the Stumbler O'Hare Gmail and it will respond to you. So, they are meant to be depicted as someone who is active right now. And there's also the note that when they reconstructed the game to the version that we play at first, 2 ex-Cogware devs helped in the creation of the game, right? So there are a few things I think that... one sec. Look, so first thing, EB Cogware is Elizabeth, aka Liz, and her icon is Stumbler. And there's also a helping nub who is also Stumbler, and there are two notes that are very important. The first is from Stumbler. Hello, future Stumbler. It's me, past Stumbler. I have the code. Going forward, if you ever need to turn on the workstation, the code is 1997, the year it all went wrong. All right, that's all. Toodles. You look great today, by the way. And then there's another separate log called Optimus2, which is, hello, Liz here again. Wanted to keep track of where we are right now. The other day, Mark took myself and the rest of our team out for coffee. It was pretty nice, but it was also somewhat unnerving. It was probably the first time through this whole adventure that the reality of my situation sunk in for me. Like, that's the CEO of Broadside Animation Studios. A massive animation titan in the industry is just here waiting for our team to help it. That's genuinely such a crazy thought, but if he enjoys our game, it's going to be life-changing. It's just a lot, honestly. But it's okay. I think we'll all be enjoying our time on Easy Street once we show Mark the game. Anyway, that's all. Toodles. So there are only 2 instances of the word Toodles, and one is Liz, and one is Stumbler, and they're both using it in the same way. Elizabeth's icon in the channel is of Stumbler. Liz created Stumbler. So I think that there is no, evil version, Starling version of Stumbler in the main game, but Liz is Stumbler in terms of, the Helping Nub website and the YouTube. What does EB and EB Cogware stand for? Elizabeth B, or Liz B. So, here's another thing. I think that the 1997 bit is interesting. The year it all went wrong. So the year they were, being dropped by Mark That's not what went wrong. And let's talk about that, because there's another meeting with Mark where he basically lets Connor and them go because they're sinking so much money into the studio. Let me find that really quickly so I can kind of piece together the timeline here. It's a little schizophrenic, but this is Affirmations 1, which we mentioned earlier. No, sorry. This is the wrong one. Give me a second. I don't know if I wrote this one down. God damn it. Well, it basically says, it's Mark. It's from Mark's POV saying that he is sinking as much money into the dev studio as his wife's treatment because it's revealed that she has some sort of terminal illness that requires her arm to be severed. So Connor asks Liz to make this concept art character, Stumbler, the blue rabbit with the arms cut off to be a mockery of Mark's wife, Harley. Her name is explicitly stated. I don't think overall she's that important, but it gives a timeline. And 1 second. Sorry. I need to take a drink really quick. I need to find the last thing that chronologically we hear from Liz is Optimist 3. It is an audio log that says, "Hello, we're not available right now. Please leave your name and phone number after the beep. We will return your call." And it's Liz saying, "Connor, hello. If you're going to have to answer me soon enough. I went in today because despite the stress of this job, all the work I've spent the last year on being put to waste, and all of us being taken off of our payroll, I wanted to check in and see if you were there. But not only do I walk in and see you're gone, but so is half of the equipment. What are you doing? Call me back when you hear this. We really need to talk about this." Let me see. Give me a second. Sorry, this is a pretty big failure in terms of organization, but I'm going to stop harping on that. There is, in the towards the end of the game, where the fuck is it? Hold on, I'm sorry. There's like I'm trying to find a recording of the conversation here. Give me just a second. There's actually like a surprising amount of bullshit here. But it's got to be scuffed. It's a Twitch stream, so any sort of explanation like this, I feel, without the ability to do video editing and things like that, is going to be at least a little fucked. Because I want to find this so I can show you that, like, where is it? Here we go. Sorry, I have my Steam folder in a really weird spot. But just let the stuff I've been talking about marinate in your head for a moment, I guess. I think this is it. Oh, is it not going to let me play these? Interesting. Hold on. Fuck, if it doesn't let me play these, then that's going to be a huge pain. No, there we go. I don't think there's audio, though. So the audio must be separate then. Alright. Fucking goddamn it. Okay. But basically, you know, Mark fires Liz and Connor from the game studio in roughly 1996, and they continue working on it to release a fucked up version in 1997 that is meant to be an expose on Mark Mullins, the CEO of Broadside, as well as Broadside as a whole, okay? And then it gets pulled off of shelves after 3 days, and I think that since 1997 is the year that it all went wrong, and we know for a fact that Connor killed himself, that 1997 is when Connor dies. He kills himself. So basically the timeline of events is the three friends start a game studio, Liz, Connor, and Harry. Harry decides to put the fucked up shit on the drive, which causes Connor to find out about it. It fucks the progress of the game up because it fucking, you know, it obliterates the presentation. But he also showed Mark something, so it was probably an even earlier version of the presentation that was not what was on the demo. The demo could have been, significantly better, but that's speculation. So after this, Connor knows everything about the 3 people who were murdered. He knows about Broadside in general, covering up murders, people being killed, and presumably he does not know the specifics of the Starling shit yet. Now, one thing I haven't really talked about is there is an important point. Well, no, I'll get to that later. Sorry. So basically, Connor tries to make the 1997 version of the game an expose, and it fails. It gets taken off the shelves, and he kills himself. He records this and implores his son to move on with his work. And I think the reason he kills himself is he abandons everyone. He goes off to be a lone wolf, and he works on that game. And Connor's a pretty terrible person, so he thinks that the reason he's got to do this is because, one, he can be uninterrupted, and if he were to kill himself, it would, since none of the others were working with him, it would kind of take the heat off of them. And so basically, there is a son. Connor's son Patrick finds the video, and one of the Cogware dev YouTube channels is called PT Cogware, which Patrick Thomas. Connor's last name is Thomas. So we know what pretty much all of these YouTube channels are and who operates them, except for the 4th one. And I think that at this point, Liz is the primary person working on the game because she creates all of this shit like a helping nub with Stumbler, EB Cogware, and there is a note that I want to show you that may or may not end up being important. Hopefully I took a fucking screenshot of this because I guess I was a little bit too disorganized. Let me see if I have it here. Well, it's a notepad file in the 1995 version of the game. The notepad file is called We're Making Progress.txt, and it has an Unreal 1997.txt in it. So I think you could infer from this that, this is something that was written around 97. And if you open the We're Making Progress thing, it says, I still love you, Connor. Now, who the fuck associated with Connor would be, they're making progress with the game and they love Connor. And I think that the version between 1997 and the 2023 release that we end up playing has been continually updated by Liz for a couple of reasons. This is one of them, but also keep in mind that if Connor died in 1997, YouTube was not a thing back then. And their YouTube videos, like links to YouTube videos, play a heavy part in this. So basically, there's no way Connor could have done it. So the old 1997 version should be interpreted as having stuff added to it that was not added 1997 or prior, but in between 1997 and 2023. Does that make sense so far? Yes? Okay. Because I need to hammer out a timeline. And basically, that's more or less the story of the dev team. Connor kills himself, Liz and eventually Patrick start working on the game. I suspect that Harry might be supplying information, but it's kind of ambiguous who the second dev would be, because we don't know if Patrick was a developer at the time of the 1997 suicide, but the channel is called PT Cogware, right? So Patrick Thomas Cogware. So it's a little bit ambiguous on that point, but I think that pretty cleanly explains the general timeline events that happens with the game studio itself and the different versions of the game. A lot of the things in the game will have been added by Liz that will not have been seen by Connor because he was dead when they were added. So now let's get to the confusing fucking part. It's about to get very, very, very harebrained and confusing. How did the game get out on shelves after funding was cut to the dev team, though? It's a good fucking question. I'm not sure. Okay. How do I even want to start this? Hello, Collective Bard Stale. I'm not really. I'm trying to talk to chat at a minimum here. I'm not trying to be a dick, but I'm going over like a 400 line explanation of a game I played. So if I ignore anyone, it's not intentional. So at some point in the future, not in the future, but I don't know when Broadside Animation Company makes the transition into Studio Grounds, because maybe they're both still there, but I think it's safe to say that where Broadside Beach is, there's a cave underneath the main island that has crystals that turn people into monsters. We're all on the same page with that shit, right? So let's talk about the murders and something that has not been shown definitively in game. Now this is the part where I'm going to cite some of the videos that are in the folder of the 1995 Legacy version. Let me see. Give me a second to get my shit set up here, because we're getting into a different part. Also, hold on. Before I do that, I wanna show you this one I made. This is linking Harry Waters and Tiffany Waters. And it's also, one thing that is important to remember here is that this is Bucky/Brandon. This confirms his name. His deformities are none. And the application still says that starlings are an essential part of a Broadside vacation. But Bucky's really like the first one we know who becomes a starling, more or less, at this point. So this is, I'm taking this to be a admission that there are other starlings before Bucky who are, as of now, I'm considering them nondescript generic ones that are, like, they're not important because they have specific names. What's a starling? A starling is essentially a fusion using minerals to combine a human corpse with a mascot suit to fuse the two. I might beg to differ. Well, keep it until I'm done, because I still have a long way to go and all of this links in. All right. So why the fuck would this, if this application says that that we do know, like skipping ahead, we do know that Rex fuses with Blot. Rex is the equivalent to Walt Disney in the game. He's the one who is like the big head of Broadside, who made all of these characters in the animations, and we know for a fact that he is fused with something called Blot. Now, to show you my proof of that, give me just one moment to find a jump scare video. The volume I set to minimum, so it shouldn't have any noise, but it is important that I show this to kind of establish something about Rex. So this is what happens when Rex jump scares you, and you can kind of see it clips into like a human face coming out of the bunny, and there's a tombstone, right? Now, a little detail that might be important is if you look in here, you can see a human eye on his right eye, and you can see like a set of human teeth beyond the bunny teeth, which would suggest that there's like some human in there, right? That could be a callback to Springtrap from FNAF 3. But there's definitively a mouth in there, and there's also one eye. But I don't think this is the previous Starling. Like, why would this thing be an important part of a Broadside vacation? Like, you can clearly see this thing is completely fucked. It's got, like, I'm going to try again. I don't know what you're trying. I'm not clicking on your links, though. He's got, like, a human skull in there. I'm trying to do my own theory. I know you're all smarter than me. I know you probably have a theory that proves everything wrong, but I'm trying to do my own for now, and then we'll see what points I'm wrong at. I'm sure you're very smart. I'm sure you've got it all figured out, but I will watch it maybe when I'm done with this, because I've spent, like, hours and hours and hours writing this document. So just be a little bit patient with me, please. So the Starlings. Let's get to something I found out in the files. Let me go ahead and fish these out. The files meaning the video section of the 1995 version of the game, the legacy version. Alright, there's these little fucking videos here. I used to be a woman named Olivia Finch. I was a voice actor. One night, I was asked by my visitor to see him at the lake. That's when I saw my visitor pulling me under. I guess maybe I fucked the order of operations up, but Olivia, Nathan, and Gary were 3 people who were killed by Brandon, because there's footage of him. Like, if you've seen the one where he's slamming a dude's fucking head into the thing, it's Gary. We know that Brandon in the Bucky suit killed all 3 of these people. Now, one of the things that was confusing to me is I didn't see anywhere in the main game where it was like a timeline of events was explicitly displayed. But if you keep this running, it gives a death date. So we can put down the death of Olivia Finch to 1989. So she died hella years before any of this shit started. And Rex also died in the 1980s. We know this because there's a museum recording that talks about the history of Rex, but we're gonna like put Rex off to the side for a bit, like panties in the dark. We're going to look at these other videos of the people dying. I have to find them. Give me a second. All right. So this is, I used to be a man named Nathan Stewart. I was an animator at Broadside's offices. I was in the offices late one night sending an email when I heard the visitor getting closer. This one died in 1990. Where did these videos come from again? The legacy version of the game. They're in a movie folder. I think you can probably find them in game, but I haven't, admittedly. So I'm cheating a little bit on this part, but it's good that I did because it's important. I used to be a name named Gary Wilson. I was a mascot handler at Broadside. One night, I went to the kitchen after my shift. Little did I know of the visitor I'd meet. Want to see? Also, 1990. So beyond a shadow of a doubt, the first one killed was Olivia. And then the way that the faces appear in the Starling conversion split video would imply that it was Gary and Nathan, but I don't know if I have the information to concretely say that for a fact. But these were in like 1989 and 1990. A man named Brandon, who is the first Starling made of the main 4, because he would have to be, because he killed the other 3 who were turned into the Starlings, killed these 3 people. One was a voice actor, one was an animator, and the last one, which is the most important one in my opinion, was mascot handler. So what the fuck is a mascot handler? Basically, the mascot handler is the guy who like walks around with the mascots, and since they can't see in real life, this is like the real life description, they can't see shit because of the giant suits, so they take them to like the underground passages and the secret areas of the park and accompany them. They spend a lot of time in proximity with the mascot that they're supposed to be handling, right? That ends up being important, but we need to get into it a little bit more. I think that's really, really fucking important. Hello, Cynical Dude. Now let's talk about another video in here, which I don't know, dude. Look familiar. I knew it was you in that costume. It was a death march, but you followed him anyways. I always thought you were the smart one, Olivia. Now, when I first saw this, I thought, like, wow, maybe she's, like, following him and helping with the murders, but that makes literally no fucking sense. Why would you do that? She didn't like Brandon even when she was alive because of the phone call talking about how it was Brandon stalking her at night. So there's no way they're you know, compadres. Thank you, Just a Gamer John, for the 61-month resub. These have no audio. No, but it's like jumbled stuff. It doesn't really matter. It does have audio, but there's no one like talking or anything in these. So let's go back to something that we looked at earlier. I said that I had what I thought was a concrete explanation for this Al character. So let me show you something interesting. I need to find... I should have, like, pre-uploaded all these to OBS, huh? Sorry, I know this is, like, a little bit of blue ball stuff. Hopefully, I've done a good enough job to have this make sense for the most part. We're not even halfway through, so there's an absolute shit ton of stuff. Okay. This one. The Johnson character has his name on Olive's, and there is a part of the video where it kind of cuts off, and it looks like the cut off text is saying Al Johnson. Now, we know all three of the other forms had a surname. But why would Al pay with his life? Well, if Olivia maintained some of the memories of her past self before she was turned into a starling and attacked Bucky / Brandon on a death march, that would be putting him at risk of termination, wouldn't it? Maybe he had to pay with his life. Maybe the one he signed off on ended up attacking the only other named one at this point, and he was terminated for it. Now, that is not 100% matter of a fact. It is a little bit of a stretch with, like, the Al Johnson thing, but it makes sense, doesn't it? And I think another thing that kind of makes this make more sense is we know that Olivia was 1989, right? So let's talk about Nathan and Gary. Tiffany Waters for Gary, who was in 1999. None of them have had their full name spelled out, right? What if she was a new hire replacing someone and she didn't understand OPSEC? And that's Louis W. knows to abbreviate his name, but maybe Tiffany was new. Maybe Tiffany took Al's place, and that's why, like, the full fucking docs is there. That's a little bit of a stretch, admittedly. But then let's look at the Walrus. This is the other one in 1990, and it's Louis W. So, notably, both of these come out after Olive, and Johnson did not sign off on either of them. So we don't see Johnson's name again. Louis W. and Tiffany Waters have the same abbreviation for their last name, and maybe Tiffany just fucked up. I think that's what's happening here. So it would also explain how if the Harry thing is true and these are Harry's parents, the nepotism thing might have gotten Tiffany on board. Maybe. What is the target field? The form or the costume? The costume. All right. Making sense so far. Any confusion or things that just don't make any sense yet? We game theorying it? Yes. So Bucky murdered these people. They're being turned into starlings. We know who's turning them into starlings, and there's a possibility that Olivia attacked Bucky. I feel like this is assured because the alternative to take from that video is that she's following in Bucky's stead. What's the point of making someone a starling? A mascot you don't have to pay, and there's more to it than that, but I'm not going to get to that part yet because I have to be a little structured. Okay, so let me think. What's the next thing I need to talk about here? I'm still wondering where the pipe came from. I'm not really... I don't know. It could be that Bucky fucking shoved it in her. It is a notable difference. I hadn't really thought about that. So I guess let's talk a little bit about starlings. Let's talk a little bit more about them, all right? So not all of this is going to make immediate sense, but a starling in real life is a bird that's capable of fantastic vocal mimicry. I think that is a very important thing to hang on. Give me a second. I need to clean this shit off. And too much shit on the screen right now. It says, we repeat only what we hear. And it's got like, it's like a generic looking one almost. It just doesn't really look like anything. And when you see them in the 1995 version of the game, this points to two things. That the concept of starlings was around in 1995, and they appear to be like a fucked up, jumbled mishmash of shit. I think that the reason the monsters make fucked up, like, Bucky, stay out of the water, is because the starling ability for vocal mimicry means that while they're around the park, they probably hear, like, the Disney song equivalent shit, and it makes, like, a fucked up mishmash of it. So all of the weird shit the monsters are saying is stuff that a starling recorded. And I think it's safe to surmise that the starlings might make fucked up noises like that in real life, because the video game version is called The Dweller. So I think that explains the seemingly unimportant, bizarre noises that those fucking things make. So they can repeat what they hear, and earlier I talked about the phone call and the recording. Do you guys remember what I mentioned about that? That it would probably be odd for that shit to just be recorded. Well, Brandon was stated explicitly to be with Mark, and Brandon is a starling, so if starlings can repeat what they hear, he would be able to repeat the entire duration of all of those calls, which is why you could put them in a game even if you weren't necessarily recording or present. So I think a huge chunk of the audio stuff that gets put in the game is actually sourced from starlings in one way or another. Now, let's talk about something that is seemingly and perhaps ultimately is innocuous. Let me find the image. If you've been watching the streams, you'll know that there's this weird shit with like Brandon being spelled out in like a Hangman game, right? Hopefully you remember that. I should be able to find an image here in a second to show you, although maybe not. Fuck me. But essentially, in the path to layer 3, there is a Bucky's being spelt, like his name Brandon's being spelt out in Hangman, and it is the last letter necessary to hang Bucky is N. Both N's are missing. Now, this might be a stretch, but what if the N was representative of Nathan? What if Nathan was... That's something I've kept in mind. I'm not going to go anywhere with it right now, but let's talk about the amalgamation now. This is where it gets really fucking stupid. I'm gonna read a series of paragraphs that appear in game to you now. In 1995, there was a mask made of 4 men, 3 men, and 1 woman to be exact. It sat in a room waiting for its liberation that would not come for years. The mass of 4 men sat in the room. It writhed and twitched like a dying animal, but it was still very much alive. It craved freedom, liberation, and happiness. It begged, pleaded to leave, but it was held in that room for a long time. One day, though, when checked upon, the mass was missing. It shambled, pulling itself out of the room when it was far enough out of the building, it split right in half. The two halves went their separate way. So the main cast has 3 men and 1 woman, excuse me. So I think that in 1995, due to the violence of Bucky and Brandon, Bucky/Brandon, they decided to do away with them and try to get rid of them by putting them into a fucking room. I think this is the point where Broadside makes Studio Grounds, around this time. I'll have more evidence to support that later, but I think it coincides. Now, I don't even know where to begin how to explain this shit. But 4 people become 1, and then they become 2. Right? We're all on the same page with that. It explicitly states that. That is not up for interpretation. It outright states that. So, let's listen to a video really quickly. Let me find it. This one's in the game folder, so it's going to take me a second to get to it. I ran into a monster earlier today. It was right outside the park. A statue put together using chunks of wood and cloth. It looked bizarre, but then I saw it move. This is like the weird generic looking starling thing, right?
It's you. I thought I was the only one rotting
Pay
down
close
here.
attention to this.
So much has happened. So much. They go beyond your understanding. They call out to me. All 4 of them. I hear their voices skittering around in the inside of my wooden shell, even down to the pulsating mass laying beneath it. I need you to find me. It won't be easy to catch. You'll need to prove to me that you want what I have. If you do as I ask, you'll
There are 2
know
important things in here.
everything. Every single detail of what
One is obvious and one is more subtle.
why you
The obvious
are
thing is it
who
describes
you
a
are.
pulsating mass inside.
What do you say?
Now, that could be just a Jimmy and the pulsating mass reference, right? But I think what it's referring to is, like, the starling that occupies the interior is like a fucked up blob thing. All right, that doesn't sound that important, but it is. The other thing that's important is, you notice there was like a reverb effect with the voice where it sounded like there was more than one voice, right? Listen to it again. I'll play it here. Now that you know what you're listening for, you can see that it is demonstrably the case.
So much. They go beyond your understanding. They call out to me.
There's like a little
All
whisper
4
after,
of
right?
them. I hear
Those
their
are important,
voices
Shut, but one thing at a time.
around in the inside of my wooden
I'm
shell.
I'm getting to almost everything.
Even
Like,
down
I have
to
a
the
lot to talk
pulsating
about.
mass
Okay,
laying
so
beneath it.
basically this thing is saying that all 4 speak to him inside of his, and he hears it down to his little pulsating mass, and there's like reverb voices. It sounds like that's the amalgamation, right? That seems like an accurate description, right? Here is where, if I think this is the part where if there's huge things wrong, this is where it's going to happen. There is only one other character in the game who speaks with like that weird fucking effect, because remember, it's split into 2. So yeah, it let's just listen to the thing. I'm cooking, don't worry. It will all be explained, I think, once I get to it, but I have to find the I have like an audio recording, I believe, of this.
before she even knew it was coming. It started with loud screaming, reduced over time to mere croaks. Any will to swim away slowly drained away as she sunk down further into the water, polluting its natural color.
This audio log seems
The
to be
rodent
describing a
stood
first-hand
peacefully
account of the first murder
watching
that Brandon committed. And there's also a reverb effect for the voice. So who the fuck is that? If we're operating under the idea that amalgamations have like the weird reverb voice with multiple, well, let me see. I need to get this screenshot. We know who is talking in all of the audio logs because there are credits for dubs. The credits explicitly state a variety of things. This is the thing here. Elizabeth Baker, Mark Mullins, Connor Thomas, Olivia Finch, all have audio where they are speaking. And there's another one called Vandal, and there's a separate one called Husk. So if Vandal has a dub, and if Vandal is a character that's been alluded to, but we really don't know a lot about Vandal, I think that that audio log, by process of elimination, unless it's a different voice than the others for sure. It's not really, I really don't feel like that's arguable. Maybe you could say it was the Husk, but if you've been paying extreme attention to the playthrough, at one point, I actually thought that that was Gary because of something he said. Remember how I connected Liz and Stumbler because they had like a verbal footprint by using the word toodles? Well, there's one character in the game who refers to Bucky as a rodent, and it's Giovanni Goose, who is played by Gary. That could be an extreme coincidence, but I think it's weird that those are the only two instances. Oh, did I mention this audio log is called Olivia? So I think that Vandal is the half of the amalgamation comprised of Gary and Olivia. That is my shot. I am shooting it. And think about it. It's stating kind of like a third-party account of the murder. Like he's watching it like he's viewing from a distance, right? Well, what was Gary's job again? He was a mascot handler. What do mascot handlers do? They kind of loiter around the mascots and fucking, you know, they're just kind of around making sure they're not, now, this is where it gets to be a little bit of speculation, because why didn't he stop it? It's a good question. But why did Brandon kill Gary? Was there something specific about the 3 people that Bucky killed? Well, if Gary was party to the murder of Olivia, which he very well could have been because he was a handler, and we know that the murder happened after Olivia's. Maybe Bucky killed him because he saw what Bucky did. Now, this is where we're getting into extreme speculation. So I'll save that for later, but I want to show you another fucking video. This one, to me, is probably the strongest bit that supports my idea that Vandal is part of the amalgamation. So that's Vandal turning around, looking at some fucked up blob of shit on the floor that's also making a heartbeat noise. We also know that there's like a heart-looking thing underneath the island in both the 1995 version of the game and the main one. I think the heart represents the amalgamation. I think that the 4 combined are represented by the heart, and I think this depicts Vandal leaving the mass. Now, here's another thing, too. Why would he just, like, turn into a fucking, you know, but maybe the one of the holes in this idea is if he was an amalgamation, how did he suddenly become like a weird fucked up rat man? Well, Gary was a mascot handler, so he would know where all of the costumes and shit are located. He would have intimate knowledge of all of the different secret little places. And there's another video I want to bring up too. This is like one of the first videos we saw, and it's the vandal. Look at the walls. He's going down into like a fucked up cave. So maybe he split from the amalgamation, got a suit, and went back down. Alright, are we following so far? Is all of this lucid and coherent? I have more evidence for this idea. Give me a second. I need to find it. All right. So let's talk about a few things that have happened that are seemingly unrelated. So one of the first things we found going through the Cogware website was, in fact, let me start with that. Let me find that really quickly. And this is a part where we're going to have to watch several videos. So I apologize in advance for that, but this is video watching time. One of the secrets we found early on was something called cogwaregames.hotel. It has this weird little fuck kind of off in the background, peering at someone who's in a hotel. And then there's text down here that says, I don't think I've ever met a man as pathetic as you. Now, the two images here are called Nathan Starling, the one on the bottom, and Gary BG. Gary background. Who's in the fucking background of this video? Now, maybe that would suggest that Nathan is a part of this, but I think I can explain that later. So why I assume that the person talking is the vandal and the man who is being described as pathetic is Mark, because the YouTube channel of JD the Vandal has a house tour where most of it seems relatively important, but it says, you can stop trying to hide Mark. You think moving into a vacation home will get me off your tail? Check the kitchen, why don't you? I left you a little gift from a friend to a friend. So this vandal character specifically hates Mark. Now, what would the possible motivation be for hating Mark? Well, if he was like the CEO of a company where you were murdered, and that seems like it would be enough motivation for me. And going back to earlier with the Olivia attacking Bucky thing, it's shown that you can, it's very likely that the Starlings keep some of their like previous intellect and desire and feelings. Like, it carries over. They are a fucked up monster, but it's still partially them. So I would say that that is why Vandal specifically is stalking this motherfucker, because if he's comprised of Gary and Olivia, they were both murdered by Brandon, who is always like hauled around with Mark. It makes sense to me, at least. Now, going back to this image, there's the JD from Bullet End channel, and he has another video that we're going to watch this one in its entirety. Let me get the link for you really quick. Hope, please no ad. The Broadside Beach Caves. Not the Studio Ground Caves, the Broadside Beach Caves. Now, no. The interesting part of that video is a couple of things. I'm pretty sure that the part of the game where you're in the building and you go down into the red area with the heart is meant to be that area, the Broadside Beach Caves. And it would make sense that if the heart is the amalgamation and the heart is squirreled away, then it would be squirreled away in such a cave, right? But the important thing to me is not actually that part of the video. If you read the description, it says home sweet home. Now, usually you wouldn't say that to someone else, right? You wouldn't say like, oh, home sweet home, bro, right? It would be something you say when you're like arriving at your house. So why would the fucked up bottom of this place be home sweet home? Well, maybe it's because he was half of the heart that was residing down there for years. I think it's a subtle thing, but it makes sense. And that's also, you know, how he can get down here and show it. And yeah. All right. You still with me? You still with me? I think that is a pretty hefty amount of evidence suggesting that JD is part of the amalgam. And while I'm not 100% on the specifics of which parts, I would suggest that Gary is almost for sure, and Olivia would be the second half. But it's not really that simple. If these walls could talk. So remember that starlings have perfect vocal mimicry. They can recall things that they've heard. We know this because of the calls with Mark being recorded by Brandon. But that doesn't make fucking sense. Nobody said it before. But how would you get that? Like, if it was Brandon recording it, how would you get that from Brandon, the murderer, if you were part of the dev team? Well, remember, all of them turned into this fucked up amalgamation. And the husk thing appeared to be suggesting that all four speak to them. I interpret this to mean that once they kind of became like a gestalt, basically. And they have access to the other's memories. And upon splitting, they keep the memories they got up until that point, but they also kind of consider themselves to be more than the sum of their parts and not a combat. Like JD considers himself to be the Vandal, not necessarily Gary and Olivia. Like they've become something that's got like its own unique identity. But since it was part of the amalgam, it can recall recordings and conversations that it wasn't necessarily present for, but other parts of the amalgam were. Now, you might be saying, holy shit, you're fucking stupid. You're fucking dumb, Tolomeo. What the fuck are you talking about? I have a video that I think is more or less absolute proof of this. Oh, fuck off, dude. Come on.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Yeah, whatever, dude. Fucking epic.
When you're launching a new product with a tight deadline,
I fucking hate YouTube OBS browser, dude. Good God. How do people watch this shit without ad block? Alright. So this is Debug Room. This is an extraordinarily important video. The video, it shows you that there's a debug room, but I'm convinced that this is not actually the purpose. Hello, Glass. Hello, Most Average. Yes, we're doing the lore breakdown. Okay, I can skip forward for this part. There's like one specific bit that's important. Okay, so if you've watched any of these, you know what that is. That's the audio recording of Olivia being murdered, right? But what channel is this from? PT Cogware, so Patrick. We know almost assuredly Patrick does not really enter the picture until way after Connor is already dead, and certainly probably at least a decade after Olivia has died. I think that he's sitting there recording these things, and I think that a lot of these recordings are in the game because using the power of the mimicry, JD can collaborate with them and give them audio recordings to put into the game as logs. That's why the Mark ones are in there too, because if it has access to Brandon's memories, then it will remember those conversations that it was present for with Mark, like the affirmations where he's alone in his office talking about how his wife is sick. How would you get access to those otherwise, right? It perfectly fucking explains how you would get all of those audio clips. And let's look at an image that is very, very, very prominently featured throughout the entirety of the game. I have a feeling you probably know where this is going. Let me fucking find it. I'm going to be pissed if I didn't save this one. This shit. I've wondered about the meaning of this for so fucking long. This mural. What the fuck does it mean? Well, we know for a fact that the one on the top right is JD. We know that Connor is in the middle and Stumbler Elizabeth O'Hare is in there, right? And these are described as the 3 pure souls. Now, the part where it didn't make sense to me is I assumed that the game was kind of done developing. Like, Connor put everything in there. But if you go back and realize that Liz has been working on this too, these are probably the 3 pure souls from the perspective of Liz, the optimist. Now, why would JD be there? Well, if he's helping the dev team to expose Mark, I think that would fit. We know that Connor's ultimate goal was to expose Mark in Broadside Beach. Now, the confusing thing is Stumbler was made to be a mockery of Mark's wife, Harley. But the only way it makes sense is if Liz, who is masquerading as Stumbler O'Hare in the ARG, is, taking the character in game of Stumbler. So 3 people who have all been hurt by Mark and 3 people who have all rallied against Mark in some way or another. There's also, 2 feet away, a little board that says, it says hate Mark. So I think this was made after the passing of Connor, and I think this depicts that these are the 3 main forces who are working against Mark. Liz B writing now makes sense. Sorry, I can't talk. I am a little flummoxed. Because there's other shit I need to mention. If you go to the gallery in the game, I don't have screenshots of this, but one important, very fucking important distinction to make, thank you, Mr. Cuddles, for the 10-month resub, is both the Husk and the Vandal are referred to as Studio Grounds Husk and Studio Grounds Vandal. So if they're associated with Studio Grounds, which we know based off of everything, we don't know for an absolute fact, but it's pretty strongly implied that Studio Grounds didn't even come into being until 1995 or later, that they weren't like players at all. They weren't considerations. They weren't part of anything pre-Studio Grounds. So if you take the 4 people being locked in a room, being turned into an amalgamation, and becoming 2 separate beings to also be indicative of sort of the transition of Broadside into Studio Ground, it would make sense because that is the birth of the Husk and the Vandal, right? And that means that it's likely that Connor never would have encountered the Vandal. That must have happened after, because it says that they were there for years. So for a long time with the timeline, it didn't make sense. Because I'm like, if they went in there in 1995 and they were in for years, that would suggest at least 3 years, right? So if Connor made everything and he died in 1997, how would he know anything about the Vandal if it's part of the amalgamation? Well, because Liz is the one who put JD in the game. That's what I think. It's also notable that even the in-game model has fucked up holes for eyes with blood leaking out. It's clearly distinct and different from the rest of the weird little mascot guys. So what about the husk? If JD is one half, then the husk has to be another, and this is where we're getting into hella speculative territory, all right? Because I'm sure at some point one of you has thought the husk, but there are husks. That's true. There's these fucking statues everywhere. The little brown husk things. But I think there are two separate occurrences happening. There's the individual who is the husk, and then there are the husks. Thank you, Broham, for the 45-month resub. I appreciate it. Because remember, an amalgamation, like the starlings can become 4, and then they're 4 individual, then they turn into 1, and then they turn into 2. So they can combine and they can separate. Keep that in mind. And we also established that you can infer from the forums talking about starlings being like a part of the success story of Broadside prior to even Brandon being in there, that there are a bunch of like little generic ones. You following? So I think, let me get the text that I wrote down. There was some weird fucking text in one of the folder videos that was appeared to be like Brandon talking to himself. I think the only thing that matters in there is he says, I want to be the best you I possibly can. But the rest of the dialogue really implies that he is extraordinarily mentally stunted. Like, he is not smart. He is not intelligent whatsoever. And I think that's important. I think when you get turned into a starling, you probably are not too lucid. You're probably not too smart. But I think Bucky wants to become the best Bucky he can. And after going and being a part of the amalgamation, it turns from that into, I want to become the best me I possibly can. Because if he was mentally stunted, he would feel like Bucky is fucking talking to him and he wants to be the best version of Bucky. But if the amalgamation is more than the sum of its parts, then it's safe to say that amalgams get stronger or more intelligent based off of how many people are a part of it. Otherwise, JD being smart and participating in exposing Broadside wouldn't make any sense. So maybe an individual starling is dumb, but once they combine, they get a stronger bit of mental energy. They become smarter. So there's an important image that I want to show you. It's basically like the final closing image of the end of the game. I think it was in the argument video earlier. 1 second. God damn it, I thought I saved so much more than I actually did. How embarrassing. I have a video of it. Give me a sec. We can just skip to the video. Wait, no, I must have it. No, it's got to be in the... No, it's here. It's here. I have it. I'm just dumb. Alright, so it's the image on the right. So let's really look at this one. This is after the bit with the husk saying that he's like all of this shit. And Bucky is notably absent. Even Rex is there. And if you look at the left, there's a blue shoulder, and I can't show you, but that appears like as a separate object. It's someone's blue shoulder. We know it's not Stumbler because he doesn't have like a mascot equivalent, really. So if you assume that 4 people become 1, the confusing thing here is the absence of Brandon and Bucky, but there's like the generic starling there. The generic little fucker, which it looks like this. It looks like a stupid fucking guinea pig, and it's been shown to have a distinct model that doesn't really look that much like the husk. This is what the husk looks like. You can see there are similarities, but what I think is happening here is I think it stands to reason that if there is an amalgam and it becomes 2 separate consciousnesses that are their own individuals, and one is JD, I think that the husk doesn't have a name specifically because it wants to become the best version of itself it could possibly be. It will probably find these generic starlings who have been shown to be like a definitive thing that exists and absorb the starling inside, leaving only a husk behind. That's what I think is happening with that. So if you have that as your theory, it makes sense and explains why there are husks and there is a husk. The A husk is not really interested in staking out its own identity, but because it doesn't really, we don't really know what it is. It doesn't really have a name. It doesn't really have a personality, so it is the husk, but it is comprised of husks. And I think that explains the amalgam decently. I think that this is also an incomplete story, so I feel like there's a possibility that the husk has a name, but it might be good to just call it Brandon. Now let's go back to the people who comprise them. So I hope that you guys are reasonably sold on the idea that at the very least Gary is part of the JD amalgam. Maybe Olivia, but now I'm going to present the evidence, which admittedly isn't super strong, that Nathan is a part of it. All right? So let's talk about, this is where I'm going to sound like an absolute, like, fucking schizo. I'm going to sound fucking crazy when I start saying this shit. Do you remember how long we spent trying to get into the museum? The poster that was talking about Frontier Street, 6 to 8 p.m.? The Walter Walrus poster? It stated that the walrus was Bucky's right-hand man. Now, the right-hand man is typically someone who's like an accomplice, but I don't think that's what it is. I don't think that's what it is at all. I would wager that Nathan hates Bucky just as much as the rest. But do you remember the injury report? The other two were just killed. He is specifically and deliberately mutilated, and he's missing his left hand, so he is literally a right-hand man. He only has his right hand. Sounds crazy, right? It sounds fucking stupid. But remember that in the split video, there was that bit about deformities, and I think that would probably say that how pure or good or strong the starling is based off of the condition the human corpse is. It probably is something that more or less uses it as food. Bucky deliberately maims this fucking thing, and it is noted as being needing work in the starling report, the Walter Walrus, right? Hopefully you're following. Hopefully, I haven't gone off the deep end yet, but if you look at this, it says it's bleeding and it needs work. It's severely mutilated. It's completely fucked. Now, there is something that seemed like it wasn't very important, but remember in the husks level, if the Bucky part specifically chases you, it starts opening up images in your screen, or in your browser rather, and there's 4 images. There's 4 images, and I can show you all of them. I know for a fact I have these screenshot. Let me go through them with you. The first is like going somewhere. It's a picture of Bucky taunting. The second is also Bucky taunting. Smile for me, dear. Okay. So, Bucky's chasing you, but this is where it gets really fucking confusing. This one took me a little bit to think through. Let me find it. I still remember my face. What the fuck is that about? That's weird, right? Well, we know 2 of the murder victims have had horrible things happen to their face. Gary had his completely melted off. I can prove this because I have a picture of it. So is it Gary? That would pretty single-handedly debunk the idea, I think, that Gary is part of the Vandal. But we also have like an actual picture of Gary. Now, it's hard to tell, but I don't think this is Gary in the picture. But I also have a picture of Nathan. I think it looks extremely similar to Nathan. And then I have more stuff here too. There is a picture in Olivia's level, which is very, very fucking important to remember, because like this is the most speculative part of the entire thing, I think. And there is a picture of a house on fire in Olivia's level with a face on it. It's pretty easy if you look at the hairline to say that this is Nathan, I think. What the fire represents, I'm not sure. But there's a connection between Nathan and Olivia beyond a shadow of a doubt. Because remember when I used to speculate that one of the shadowy faces in the waterway level that appears, there's Rex, there's the walrus, and there's another person who, by process of elimination, I decided that was probably fucking Nathan, right? That would make sense. We hadn't really seen his face up until that point, but it's not. I know this beyond a shadow of a doubt because of the little bit of sleuthing I did looking into the video folder of the main game. Let me find it for you. Oh God, hold on. It's called Olivia. The file states that this is Olivia. Also, we don't get to see that bit, but she smiles at the end. So there is some link between Nathan and Olivia that I will admittedly do not understand 100%. But I think I can make inferences because of a couple of things. Remember, I said there were 4 images that happen when you're being chased by Bucky. I haven't shown you the 4th one. I have shown it before, but I want to show you it again. I wish I could rot like you. What does that mean? All right. Rex, the person pictured here, is basically Walt Disney, okay? And we know earlier, the reason I showed you that jump scare is he is in a different state of being than the rest of these starling creatures. I'll show it to you again. Let me find it. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. I thought it was muted. Okay, well, you know, now that you're awake and paying attention, fuck. I really did not intend for that. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm really genuinely sorry. I apologize. I swear on my life that was... I did it earlier and it didn't have the noise. It spawned as media source 2 and automatically maxed itself. Hello, Noodle. But look at it. Look at this fucking thing. We were talking about the human mouth and the eyeball, and the in-game version has maggots in its eyes. It's literally rotting. Rex/Blot is definitively rotting, so I think you can interpret I wish I could rot like you is someone saying that they wished to rot like Rex. Does that check out? Does that, so far, are you with me? Does that make a reasonable amount of sense? So, it's probably not Brandon, right? Brandon seems like he wants to absorb things. And if we take the 4 images literally, it could be 2 from the perspective of Nathan and 2 from the perspective of Brandon. All right, let's go back to the waterway level. We know there's a connection between Olivia as well as Nathan, but one of the things I always harped on was this fucking idea that why is Rex explicitly fucking like shown in the sky for seemingly no reason. It just didn't make a lot of sense, and I puzzled over it. I thought about it a lot, and this is probably wrong, I will fully admit. I know I'm working with an incomplete set of data, but I want to show you the video. Just so you know I'm not making things up. This appears in Nathan's level. So Nathan has a link to both Rex as well as Olivia. Do you remember what Nathan's profession was? We were talking about that earlier. He was an animator. He also, I think that they're related. This is, if there's one thing in particular I am not 100% on, it's this. Because I do not know Rex's last name. Other people have said that they do. But I think that Rex and Nathan are related. And so he knows that Rex is rotting. That's why he shows up in Nathan's level. There's a connection there. Maybe it's not that specific connection, but there is some manner of connection. And he is an animator. So it would make sense for a child to be following in the footsteps. However, I think if this were the case, it's probably more likely that Rex is a grandfather, because Nathan's only like 20 years old. So it's not like a father thing. It would probably be a grandfather, because the timeline wouldn't make sense, because we know Rex was making things in the 1940s and died in the 1980s. So unless Rex was like Boogie and really, really liked to keep him young, I don't think it would be a father relation. But let's go back to Olivia. So we know that Bucky murdered 3 people, right? Brandon murdered 3 people. Why? He had no deformities, and we know, based off of Olivia attacking him, as well as the amalgamations keeping bits of themselves, that you keep part of yourself when you become a starling. What was the relationship between Nathan and Olivia? They were roughly the same age. Get ready. Brandon died from fentanyl, was stated to be his death. He had no bodily deformities, so he was the strongest one. That's why it was a death march for Olivia to try to kill him. But what if he started doing drugs because of rejection? What if Olivia, he's shown objectively to be obsessed with Olivia. He's stalking the house. He's staring at her, leaving weird shit on her fucking windows. So maybe he killed her because he couldn't be with her. Maybe Gary, the mascot handler, saw or knew about what he did, and that is why Brandon killed Gary. Maybe Nathan was close to Olivia in some way, provoking jealousy, and caused Brandon to want to kill Nathan, which, remember, we know the hangman thing. N is the last straw in hangman. It would give him a motive for killing all 3 of the people who died. So Brandon's motives would make sense in this. I don't know if it's correct, but he would kill all 3 of them, and then they would eventually get locked into the fucking thing, share all of their memories. JD would go on to become like a good version of the amalgam. And remember earlier, I harped on the injuries Nathan had. I think Nathan is being dominated by Brandon. I think since he was so mutilated and so fucked up, where like limbs and shit were cut off, his portion of the amalgam was not strong enough to reject the influence of Brandon. And while Brandon was strong, he wasn't strong enough to keep all of them, which gives... Oh, all of them. All of them. Get it? Which is why the other 2 got away, but Nathan was too weak because the state of his starling was fucked because he was mutilated. I don't know if that was intentional, but he was by far fucked up the most. Like, Bucky beats him to death with a chair and starts cutting him up. I feel like it's more malicious than the other 2. The other 2 are malicious for sure, but he seemed to have a particular disdain towards Nathan. A literal right-hand man. All of this making sense. That is the bulk of what I think is going on here. Essentially, a fucking heartbroken boy overdoses and becomes Fenty Fazbear, kills his love interest, her love interest, and the guy who knew about it, gets them all locked up. The starling life form is revealed to be able to like join and leave, and one half, in defiance of Broadside and Mark, the people who put them in that situation, go on to become Vandal, who is trying to expose the company that murdered them and forced them into like a fucking prison. The other is just bent on becoming the best version of himself he can be, the best Bucky he can be. And going around and absorbing the generic starlings, leaving husks. So I think it's fair enough to say that let's go back to that fucking image. Let's go back to that goddamn fucking image. Remember the one where I said it was weird that Bucky was conspicuously absent, right? Because it shows all of the characters. What if Bucky is replaced with something nameless, something generic, just a starling wanting to get stronger? That would cleanly explain why he is omitted from a picture that has even JD/Vandal in it. Nathan really looks like a game dev. And that's more or less the body of what I think is going on. I'm sure there are parts that are just objectively wrong in holes, but to sum it up, there is a game dev studio started by 3 people, Connor Thomas, Harry Waters, and Elizabeth B. Harry Waters was from a family who was working on the Starling experiment, so he had knowledge of the horrible things that were happening, and he replaced Connor's thumb drive with like an expose, a bunch of folders detailing the Broadside murders that the park is experiencing. Connor saw this, and despite trying to still make the best possible product he could for Mark, was rejected and laid off. And so in 1996, he went rogue and tried to turn his game into the best expose possible. And when he released it in 1997, it was pulled off of shelves in 3 days, and he killed himself due to a combination of grief and trying to implore his son, Patrick, to continue his fight. Thank you, Sir Zebras, for the 51 months. We know from the note that Liz loved Connor, and there's a possibility that Patrick is their child. I don't know that for a fact because in one of the videos in the 1995 version, a wife who stood Connor up named Hilda is mentioned. So it could possibly not be Liz's kid. But we know Liz becomes Stumbler in universe and starts continuing work on the game, detailing 3 people as pure souls in defiance of the corporation. Stumbler herself, Connor, her love interest, and JD, who is providing them with vocal mimicry recordings of the various horrible things that happened between the 4 main mascots. So Brandon, Gary, Olivia, as well as Nathan. That's how that information is present in the game. So remember that I'm pretty sure that the well, no, I don't know. Connor kills himself. Patrick joins the team, and him and Liz start working on a version that will actually expose Broadside animation. On the Broadside side of things, Brandon kills 3 people. I can't imagine this was intended. I saw comments saying, what if it was intended? Well, think about this. Al paid with his life. Why did he pay with his life? That doesn't make any fucking sense, right? If it was a plan to kill and make an abomination, it probably wasn't intentional, because Olivia attacked Bucky. Well, rather, the Starling Olive attacked Bucky, and Al paid with his life. And then Lewis, as well as Tiffany Waters, the new hire, continued to keep making more of these Starlings. And eventually, at some point, let's go back to the split video. Let me fucking find it. I have a lot of shit in here. Hold on. Where the fuck was it? Well, the split video basically says... give me a second. Sorry, I know it's a little bit of lost momentum here. This is the Starling conversions text that's important. The end is victims emerged. It was in our best interest to something before it came a public ordeal. What was the something? Maybe some person wanted it to happen, but there was something happening with the Starling conversion that they wanted to lock down before it became a public ordeal. So they took the 4 main Starlings, the 4 mascots, locked them in a room and tried to rebrand as Studio Grounds. And when eventually, years later, the amalgamation came out as JD and the Husk, they were known as Studio Grounds Vandal and Studio Grounds Husk. That's why I think the nomenclature there was important. So I think there probably weren't like a ton of murders happening in the period of time where Brandon and the rest were locked away. They were probably trying to move away from the whole Starling shit because there were murders happening. And now it's a blast from the past because guess what? The heart of the matter escaped and crawled out and became one JD and a hybrid of Brandon / Nathan. But Nathan, being so fucked up and weak because he was mutilated, is like the minor part of the personality, and it's mostly Brandon. Never got part 2 of the video. He didn't personally. Yeah, I'm not good at finding things. Someone mentioned... I was thinking about finding it, but someone mentioned, like I was saying, if it would probably... I told them I didn't want help, and they said that it would take me like a week or more to find stuff. So, you know, people don't have that much faith in my ability to find things. So I just decided, hey, I think I have enough to lay out a general theory of what's happening in the game. And yeah, I think that's more or less what's going on here. The Husk is like an untamed fucking monster trying to absorb Starlings to become the best version of itself that it could be. And the Vandal's exposing it. And also assisting in the game Shipwrecked 64. By using vocal mimicry to relay events that happened so that they could be put into the game. Nathan's the walrus, right? Yes. What's up with the end of the game where Bucky jumps off the patio? It is a direct mirror to the end of the 1995 version, which is a recording of Connor Thomas jumping off of the roof. There's a couple things here and there that I didn't touch on too much. Like little bits and pieces. Like I noticed while talking with Autumn, you know that when we're so what? I don't know, dude. You know, if you're not interested, you're not interested, but I don't know why you'd be watching. Was the legacy version of the game downloaded when you got the suicide ending? I don't think so. Did I miss what JD meant? I don't think it means anything. He's a vandal. He's a trickster. It's subterfuge. He's trying to maintain anonymity so that he can continue to act against the corporation. What's the deal with the windmills? I'm not entirely sure, but it seems my best guess is the amount of people who died. Because if Rex is dead and the 4 are dead, and Mark's wife also died, that would cleanly mean 6. I was the one who said junior developer Jerg. It could be Patrick. He could be the Studio Grounds Vandal, but the thing that really like throws a wrench into it is if that's the case, why does it have a voice distortion effect that the Husk also has? That's the main thing that's really making me reluctant to consider it as part, like just a normal person in a suit. Because they also have detailed... I don't care, transitional. They also have detailed versions, or not versions, a detailed map of like all of the different areas of the park, like where the suits are kept, where the heart is, like how to get in the caves. Why? Like who would have that knowledge on the game dev team? Maybe Harry. I stopped paying attention to the 3 good souls at this point. It's all gibberish. All right. Yeah, I figured it wouldn't be, you know, I tried my best. Hopefully that explains it. I'm not Matt Pat. I apologize. So I think it makes sense, but, you know, it seems that I did not avoid the cockroach underneath the milkshake. Which, sorry for that, but I don't know. I think that if you lay it out, and it makes more sense if you're reading it, instead of like juggling subs and people telling you you're stupid, whatever the fuck else. But yeah, that's about it. There's a few things before that I don't understand, but it's probably just gibberish, right? I don't know what the fuck this thing is. It's in the files of the 1995 version. I have no idea. I have no fucking idea. I don't have the faintest fucking clue. Maybe the amalgamation before it split into the ooze. But I don't really know. Maybe another character, Starling? Maybe. Is that the thing in the image at the end of the game? It's in the 1995 version. Alright, now that I'm done, you can link me, well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I want to... I don't particularly want to be mocked for not being able to find everything. So I think I will leave it with my particular, like the stuff that I found, leave it at that. So people can't say that, you know, whatever they're going to say. But let's go back to things that are maybe a little bit less important. But first, let me go get some tea. I need to, my mouth is very dry. So let's go and get a refresher.
Bucky. Stay out of the water.
Alright. I won't gibber on for too much longer. There's just a couple things that I want to make note of that I noticed that is not super terrifically important. So I think I was cut off, and I'll try to talk a little bit slower so it's not gibberish. But, in the actual game, the main one you play, the 1997 version, when Rex/Blot shows up, it plays like this weird jingle. Hooey. Hold on. I have to find the text. Give me a second. So in the Frontier Museum, there's an excerpt about Rex really enjoying merry-go-rounds and like to spend a lot of time at fairs. So I think that is a reference to this part of the text. It kind of sounds like a carnival noise. I'm sorry I don't have the audio on hand, but if you watch the streams, you'll know what I'm talking about. Let me look over this really quick. Need to make sure I've got everything. Right, one of the big questions that I haven't really talked about was the fucking weird-ass Wendigo thing. The Wendigo is interesting because of, it doesn't seem to necessarily be associated with any one person in particular. So let me read you something about the other game, Broadside, I think it's called, no, it's called Blunder Cover, I believe. So, hold on. Let me find this. Sorry, it's a big-ass document. Blunder Cover is not currently playable, but is stated to be produced in honor of Connor Thomas. So I would wager that Blunder Cover will be released in the future to continue this stuff. And the main character for Blunder Cover is named Howls. So the Wendigo in Shipwrecked is called Horns. So there's like a weird little naming convention there. So I think it's not super important to the story, but I'm pretty sure that it's just Harry's self-insert character, and it would also be evidence of the like if Howls is also a self-insert character by Harry, and he's one of the two Codware devs releasing this shit, he would technically be undercover because we know he's related to people who work with the Starling conversion program. And I think that's what's going on there. Through that line of reasoning, I think Horns is just like a silly little self-insert character of Harry. And that's why he appears a lot with Connor. But it's not really, there's no like deep meaning or anything like that as far as I can tell. It's just because we know that Connor and maybe others were putting self-insert characters in the game because the calls mention Mark criticizing him specifically for that. And it's likely that Mark wouldn't have found that part of the game because he played for like 10 seconds and saw some wolves. So the reason that particular self-insert wasn't mentioned was because Mark sucks at video games. So I think that's what the Wendigo is supposed to be. It's nothing super interesting or complex, but it checks out and makes a lot of sense. To me, at least. So, yeah. I think that's about it. That's about it. I don't think I have much. I'm sure I'll think of something the moment I end the stream. But that is about what I've got. Maybe I should have taken a few more days to like compile it in a more digestible way. But it is. I think it makes sense if you do like a careful, close reading, and you can get through like the. I guess we can watch the third part of that video now. Can you link it again, Transitional? I just didn't want to get like sidetracked while I was trying to do the explanation. Makes sense why you find the Wendigo head in the Wolf Village. It's no longer a story he's part of. Yeah, that would make sense. I'm not very good at the whole like deep meaning shit, but I think even if parts of that are wrong, it's at least sensible for the most part. Maybe not my particular oration of it, but the idea is sound, in my opinion. Let me see. I don't know why my downloads folder is being so picky right now. It's showing me it's not showing me anything I've downloaded recently, and it has made this a little more difficult than it perhaps needed to be. Give me a moment. We can look at this. This will probably have a couple of like debunkings of stuff that I said, but I guess that's okay. Sorry I didn't find it in my own playthrough. I'm not sure where the fuck this is, and I also don't want to be told where it is either. It'll just be something I will have to theorize about. Okay. Where the fuck is this? God, why is my OBS not wanting to find fucking things right now. It's frustrating. Wham! Alright. This is the fully completed video. This is not my responsibility. I didn't figure it out. Studio Grounds Innovation Labs. That's already fucking me up. Why is it called that? I guess Studio Grounds was farther along than I thought, but that doesn't really matter with some of, like, a pretty big majority of it. Let's see what else it says. Or maybe it was intended to be like a project for that park, and it ended up not going the way they thought it would. So they were innovating for Studio Grounds. It wasn't necessarily part of Studio Grounds, because we know almost for sure this takes place in Broadside Beach Cave. Okay. So let's see. Olivia Finch was found at the bottom of the lake right outside the cabins at Broadside Beach's staff quarters. When located, she appeared to be waterlogged. Looked like something out of a horror movie, said Hillary Stocks, her cabin mate. There was a long trail of blood leading all the way from the window of Olivia's cabin to the lake which she was found. Okay, so we know all of that. Let's just... Okay, Gary Wilson was found in the Broadside Beach staff kitchen. Blood surrounding his face. He was seen with his head in the deep fat fryer, with his body slouched over the edge, his back as well was seemingly broken in many different areas. Nathan Stewart was found in the Broadside animation offices with several large gashes in his face. Something seemingly had grabbed an office chair, jamming him with full force right to the left side of his face, coming all the way through the back of his head. Okay. Starling conversion. Starlings are a creature that is in part manufactured by Broadside Innovation Labs. Found on the Broadside Beach attraction, an island previously known as Nola Terra. That's what the island in the game is called. Strange mineral was found in what workers called... What the fuck is that word? Stilt heaves? Large holes in the island full of veins, seemingly some kind of strange fleshy substance within the dirt and rock of the island. In research, this material seemed to possess strange abilities. Every single chunk of the material appeared to have its own pulse. Okay. When combining the material with some kind of living organism first attempted upon rats, it seemed to cause the subjects to jitter and twitch. When the skin was removed from the rats, the effect was even stronger. New bones not previously seen on that of a rat began to form like plants sprouting from soil. Any creature infused with the material appears to alter and change its skeletal structure to fit whatever condition they're in. Okay. So it wasn't talking about the condition of the bodies there. When the 3 victims emerged, it was in our best interest to fix that before it came up. I think this is what I said. That's what, it also says when they emerged. That's important because the Brandon is with Mark all the way up until 1995 because of the Legacy game to film the commercial. So if around that time Harry leaked the information, not just to Connor but in general, that probably means Mark took that opportunity to put all of them into the room, which would line up with the fact that it says the amalgamation was locked in a room in 1995. So I think for the most part that's in line with what I was thinking. Didn't seem like a C to me. Biggest brain theory is that Rat became Vandal. It just, the altered, like, distorted voices don't make any sense to me. Because you could say that maybe it's the reverb of the suit, but none of the others seem to have that. Although I guess there's not a lot of talking in the suits. So yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it. When you get all 4 Starlings in the room at the same time and they become... So what I think happened is, like, Bucky killed them. So Bucky probably tore them all to shreds, and maybe he also got fucked up in the process. And, you know, the shit inside just kind of like, you know, it's Stitch Caves. Okay. Was that the whole video? I think so. Let me check. Yeah, it seems to be it. Sounds like to cover them up, they just ripped them out of the suits and left them to rot, then they combined. That could be it too. Can you explain Inception? I've never seen Inception, so I don't think I would be able to do that for you. All right, so this is the point where if things are a little bit confused, feel free to ask, and maybe I can try if I have the knowledge to illuminate things. But I think that's about all I've got. If it's just me talking about it. Ever figure out what weird, creepy black and white clip that plays when you start it? No, I have no idea. I think everything makes sense now. Watch Broadside Beach YouTube video thing? No. Where did the rat suit come from? Was it another mascot suit? It could have been. If Gary is part of Vandal, then he was a mascot handler, and he would have intimate knowledge of all of the tunnels of Broadside Beach and would have probably been able to find a suit. I think that's a reasonable explanation for that. Mark did say that there were other characters. Yes, I think that it's not... I think even if I let everybody spoil the shit out of me, there are things that just... I'm not sure they've been revealed yet. And I'm not just saying that because it's like, oh, he didn't find it out. He doesn't think it's revealed. I just think it's an ongoing thing. So... You able to gather much from the legacy version? Yes, primarily the videos and movies in the folder. The timeline that Brandon died from an overdose turned into a starling and killed the others? Yes. Maybe he killed someone prior, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to be... Like, there's almost no information I have been able to find about Brandon before he got in the suit. Rex, blot part of the amalgamation? No. Probably because it was rotting. It literally said he was rotting, which could mean a variety of things. He could be rotting underneath the cavern already. It could mean, since he's visibly fucked up and there's like a skull and shit in there, that he's too damaged to really like do anything. Like an incomplete, like early prototype starling. But it specifically said that he's rotting, and if Nathan is part of the amalgamation, he seems to say, I wish I could rot like you, with a picture of Rex. So I think it's fair to say that Rex is out of commission, rotting underground somewhere. And he is not part of the amalgamation. Now, the thing that would interest me is why he is a starling to begin with. I guess he wanted to extend his natural life and it went wrong, but I don't know if there's too much info on that. I believe Rex was the original and was buried in the caves to have been the first. I think it's interesting that starlings had to be signed off on to certify they would not attack others, and it's important. I think that's why Al paid with his life, because one of the videos displays a name, which is Johnson, where during a clip of the video it looks like text from the other form is cut off saying, spelling out Al Johnson. And then his name is not seen again in the two that come after. Could be just a coincidence, but I think since the olive suit almost certainly attacked the Bucky suit, Al paid with his life, because there was probably like a fight that was witnessed between the two. Something I'd love to know too is why they were selected. I think it just happened. I think that Brandon, because they wanted to cover up the deaths and they were just taking people who had died. And I think the random other people who were talked about, like the girl who had her head crushed or whatever, probably just turned into generic starlings. Maybe they wanted to use him as a main mascot, but his corpse was too old and rotten to work properly. Would it have to do with the deal of a lifetime? Maybe. I don't have enough info to really say one way or another on that. It did say that he had to make a replacement for Bucky, but I'm not sure. I definitely feel like there's more to it, but I don't know. If I turn into a starling, I would be a generic one. Hello, Jico. Starlings are an easy out to covering up the bodies when people die. No bodies are recovered. And it also lines in with the general idea with like Walt Disney World will escort people like off premises to die, so they can say that there are no deaths on the park, or in the park rather. So it's simultaneously a way to create new attractions and to cover up like accidents that happen in the park. Now we get the vibe that they were purposely killing people, but they were taking advantage of the situation afterwards. Yeah, I don't think there's like a mastermind that's like killing people for some goal. I think Brandon was just a guy who died of a fent overdose and acted on his. He got turned into Bucky because probably the reason he was selected for Bucky in particular would probably be that he had no deformities on his body. He died from drugs, so there were no physical anomalies, and it would be easy to fit him in the suit. And then he went on to act on his previous feelings towards other employees at Broadside, which would be Olivia, Nathan, and Gary. Were you ever able to find a way through the gate in the museum? No. How did they cover up the murders? Wouldn't people come looking for the bodies? They probably turned them into the generic starlings that don't seem to be like part of the main cast, like the weird fucking ones, like in that video. Bucky murders would make sense to lead to them being locked into the rooms. They realize he's being too aggressive. Bucky targeting the... Yeah, and Olive also targeted Bucky. So maybe they figured the situation would take care of itself if they just put them all in a room and they'd like kill each other. Since one was a murderer and the other three were the victims. Did you mention what the faces in the sky mean? I have an idea for it, but there's no way to be sure. I think it suggests that there is a connection between Nathan and Olivia and Nathan and Rex. My fucking, random throw out theory is that since Nathan is an animator, he is related in some way to Rex, and he had something going on with Olivia which would give Brandon/Bucky a motive to kill him. I mean, it sounds kind of juvenile, but why would the killings happen? Like, he targeted specific people, and it's important to remember that it was a voice actress, an animator, and a mascot handler. So they weren't other suits to begin with. He killed like regular employees on the park. But and another interesting thing too is if we go back to the beginning with the phone calls, Mark brings Brandon over to film the commercial for the game in 1995. So even though the people died in 1989 for Olivia and 1990 for the other two, it seems like there were no other incidents with Brandon. Like, no other murders were explicitly stated to have happened between 1990 and 1995. And the reason why they decided 5 years after the fact to stow them away is because Harry Waters released the files with all of the pictures of people dying in the murder footage, which caused Mark to lock them away and home away from home. For Rex having the blot suit, that could have just been his desire to be buried in the suit, with that being his initial creation. Who was the YouTuber that did an examination of the game? Damn. Mark mentions that Broadside has a lot of characters, plenty of room for other starlings to exist. Yes, and the little application forms, even the one with Brandon, who is the only one for a fact we know besides the weird Rex one, the application form states explicitly that they've become an essential part of a Broadside vacation. So there are undoubtedly like generic starlings that are not part of the cast of four and who came after Rex. The amalgamation created Vandal and the Husk, right? Do we know what I think one half is the Vandal and one half is the Husk. I think that is, like, clearly there is something that starts with 3 men and 1 woman. They combine into something, and then they split into 2, and I don't think there are any overt holes in my explanation of one half being the Vandal, which is Gary/Olivia primarily. Because remember, they keep some memories and like recordings from when they were a total amalgamation. So I think when they became an amalgamation, all of their memories and shit up until that point were shared. And the 2 halves became their own individuals when they split, but still keeping the memories that were obtained previously. Does that make sense? Kyle, do you want to amalgamize with me? If it requires us, like, becoming weird slime things, maybe not. Was there ever any significance to the walrus being at the museum at specific times? I don't know. I haven't figured that out. I think this is where I'm going to end Shipwrecked for me, because like I said, I don't want to be, like, looking for things for 10 hours to find nothing and just end the Shipwreck streams with looking for stuff that may or may not exist. I think it's an alright tying off. Hopefully, if you listen through a couple of times, it makes some sort of sense. I'm not really a theory guy. Never done anything like this in my life. I spent, I think, like 5 hours writing a summary yesterday. So hopefully it mostly made sense. I think if I do another one, I'll make sure that I dilute it as much as I can to make it more digestible, because it was a lot of humming and hawing and where the fuck is this video clip? So I'm sorry if it was bad. Full video said that new bones would grow in the rats to fit whatever container they were in. It would make sense if they were taken out of their suits and thrown in the cave and turned into the meat pile. I do want to find last things. Do you think you will do some follow-up if you find something new? If I do, I don't know how much I'm going to be playing it. Because the main thing I was missing was that video that was given to me just now. But yeah, you know, I really hope that these streams have been enjoyable. I'm really fucking tired of the Beaver game. Like, I love it. It's one of the best games I think I've played. One of the best indie games. I really don't think the dev will ever hear this, but if you do, you are a fucking mastermind. You are a genius. You have made an unbelievable fucking game that I've immensely enjoyed playing. I'm not usually a lore guy. Like, there's like 99% of the time, I do not give a fuck about the story in games, but this, like, every bit of this for the most part was perfect. So I hope that you keep making games and you never compromise on your vision, because you're doing it the right way. I did see that they posted on Twitter that apparently Twitch streamers are asking for keys for a $7 game to stream it, presumably because they heard it was getting popular. And he was like, you guys can fuck off with that shit, which I think is a great response. $7 fucking for, like, at least, like, if you look everything up, it's at least like 10 hours of playing, I would think, right? $7 fucking for a game like this is unbelievable. You know, hopefully, I really hope that this series of streams will be remembered as fondly as something like Worm Game, First Land, or My House. You know, I really tried. Even the days where I haven't been streaming, I've been writing down fucking notes to try to get like a cohesive narrative going so that it can kind of link things. Maybe it's not right, but maybe it's enough to go off of that people can, you know, fill in the remaining gaps themselves. So I think some things are absolutely more or less beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like, I'm 100% convinced that the entire thing started with Harry Waters. And if Blundercover is going to be released in the future, and the Wendigo Horns is his self-insert, and Howls is also his self-insert in that game, it would be depicting like him being undercover at Broadside / Studio Grounds, right? That would make pretty good sense to me. Is there Worm Game VODs? Yes, it's called First Land on the YouTube VOD archive channel. Almost everything I've done in at least like the last 5 years has been on there. All right. Wait, what's going on, Autumn? Little man form? What the fuck? What the fuck, dude? Jesus Christ. Well, personally, I could say, despite getting irritated a little bit here and there, this has been an immensely enjoyable experience with me. I hope it has been, for the most part, for you as well. This is Little Man's form. His death was Whataburger, and apparently we're turning him into Autumn Otter, and I signed off on it. I would never, like, honestly, dude, like, I would not transmute Little Man into anything. Anything. I don't know, dude. I wouldn't put Little Man in the body of my wife. That would be really weird. I would be very, very strange. Okay. Well, I'll stop prattling on. Hopefully this has been a satisfying conclusion, because there's probably not going to be any more Beaver game streams from this point on. So, hope you liked it. Hope you have a good week, and I will see you some other time, dudes. Take it easy.